Regional Chamber's 5th Annual Women in Business Conference. I'm Lori Matson, and I'm President and CEO of the Tri-City Regional Chamber. Each year, this powerful event brings together hundreds of business leaders to celebrate success, develop your network, and take advantage of incredible opportunities for professional and personal development. Once again, we've assembled an impressive group of 14 successful women who will provide their expertise, motivation, and support to help enhance your career and positively impact you today. You know, every year we try not to bring the same group of women back year after year because we want it to be fresh. And I'm always just so impressed with the depth of professional women here in the Tri-Cities. It's our goal that you'll leave here today confident that 2016 will be a brighter, bolder, and better than ever. Our morning keynote speaker, Jessica Butts, is a psychotherapist, life fulfillment coach, and a Myers-Briggs expert. Today she'll share with us how you can live your life from the front seat. Our lunch and keynote speaker, Whitney Keys, has worked as a senior Microsoft manager, strategic advisor for American Express, and a consultant to thousands of small businesses around the world. Whitney continues her success as the founder and CEO of her company, Propel Productions. She is the recipient of the Small Business Administration's Women in Business Champion of the Year for Washington State, and the author of a book, Propel: 5 Ways to Amp Up Your Marketing and Accelerate Business. During today's luncheon, we'll present our 2016 Athena Leadership Awards. The Athena Award honors individuals who have achieved professional excellence, actively served their community, and helped women reach their full leadership potential. We also have 27 exhibitors surrounding our main stage, and we highly encourage you to visit all the booths throughout the day. We'll have several breaks for you to do that. It's your chance to connect and capitalize on the resources and products they offer to you and your business. At the conclusion of today's conference, you are all invited to attend our Best Business Friends Wine Social, which is sponsored by 5 of our local woman-owned wineries. And speaking of sponsors, I'd like to thank the following sponsors for making this event possible. Special thanks to our premier sponsor since the inception of this Women in Business Conference 5 years ago, Washington River Protection Solutions. D.A. Davidson and Company, Curion Inc., Battelle, Cadlick Regional Medical Center, Numerica Credit Union, Durashine Clean Company, Synergy Medesthetics, Elevate, Frigette Winery, Hedges Family Estate, Anilari Winery, Market Vineyards, Purple Star Winery, Town Square Media, the Tri-City Herald, Versatile Design Studio, Mustang Sign Group, Kennewick Flower Shop, and Camarazzi. Let's give our sponsors a round of applause. And just as a quick housekeeping item, I just want to remind you all to please silence your phones and any devices that you have. And now I'd like to introduce Amy Bachet, who's the Project Service Support Manager representing our presenting sponsor, Washington River Protection Solutions. Please help me welcome Amy.
Good morning. Wow, what a beautiful group of people we have assembled here. So I'm thrilled to be representing Washington River Protection Solutions, and it's my pleasure to join you this morning and welcome you to this year's event. So the theme I found very inspiring just in its name, right? Connecting women, creating leaders. So this certainly serves as a mantra and a powerful message for us today, tomorrow, and wherever your future may head. So I'm confident that each of you today will learn valuable experiences from the speakers that have been assembled. And I'd like to specifically thank the Chamber and the staff, Lori and her crew. This is not an easy event to pull off, so thank you, Lori, and the whole Chamber for putting on a remarkable event such as this. So many of you probably had a chance to look at the agenda. It's a remarkable agenda that provides several opportunities for you today, both in networking, leadership development, and as Lori pointed out, the wine social. So it's a unique event in Eastern Washington, and WRPS is happy to make such an informative and inspiring event possible. It's part of our outreach of the community, and as an executive manager within the company, I'm thrilled to be able to be here and really represent and work for a company that promotes and supports women in the business. So I'd now like to kick off this event by being able to introduce our conference keynote, Jessica Butts. As Lori mentioned, she is a psychotherapist, life fulfillment coach, and a Myers-Briggs expert whose mission it is to inspire others to accomplish magnificent things by embracing their innateness. She shares her Live Your Life from the Front Seat methodology around the country in her sassy, no-holds-barred, entertaining manner. So after leaving the corporate world of human resources, Jessica now has a private practice near Seattle. She is an ENFJ. For those that have taken Myers-Briggs, you'll know what that means. Jessica thinks outside the box, she leads with her heart, and is obsessively organized. I met with Jessica earlier this morning and said I'm going to pay special attention to that part, because that's so not me. She's passionate about personal development, traveling. She has deep connections with those in her life, and her beloved Boston Terrier, Tucker. So please join me in welcoming Jessica Butts to the stage.
Thank you. Hi. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes. Great, these mics work awesome. Hi everybody, I am Jessica Butts. As she said, I'm super excited and honored to be here, and thank goodness for flights that take you to Pasco, so I did not have to drive over the pass. So last week I was stressing out because the pass was closed for like 24 hours, and I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to get over there if that happens on Tuesday or Wednesday? So very happy to be here. I do want to apologize. I have a tiny bit of a cold, so if I cough or I sneeze or something on stage, please excuse me. That's obviously not my norm. I am here today to kick off this beautiful event by talking to you about your innateness. So I have a BHAG in this world, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And that goal, thank you, that goal is to help everybody start designing their life around their innateness. So today I will talk a little bit about God, I will talk a little bit about the universe, and I don't actually care which you believe in. I believe in both, and I believe wholeheartedly, 100%, each of us were born with our personality type. We are born into this world who we are. So that's here. Then what happens is the world gets in the way. This big old bubble is life circumstances. This is that crappy job that you took and hate. This is possibly a divorce. This is having babies. This is just a mortgage, your car payment. This is life. This is stress that oftentimes, and in my profession being a therapist and a coach, I see this a lot. And this happened to me. Life circumstances absolutely get in the way of us being who we are supposed to be in this world. My BHAG, again, is to get everybody, no matter how old you are, I don't care if you're 20 or if you're 65, I'm 42, to get us back to here. I know when I did that, my life completely changed. So I'm going to share a little bit about me so you know who the heck I am, other than my title. As I said, I'm a 42-year-old woman. I was living a very uninspired life. I was bored. I worked in corporate human resources. I was married. I had the normal life that you're supposed to want, right? Like, from the outside, it seemed pretty awesome. Seemed pretty perfect, except I was miserable and totally uninspired because I was not living a life according to who I really am in this world. The universe and God works in mysterious ways sometimes because he threw me a punch. My husband, who I thought we would be together forever, I think most people do when they get married, He came home one day and told me that he didn't love me anymore and he didn't want to be married to me. I then found out there were multiple affairs. All kinds of things had been going on that I was completely unaware of. And in that moment, my life completely changed. I had to pull up my own bootstraps, if you will, and get my stuff together. And as they say, it was quite a blessing in disguise, because I was then able to recreate my life. Granted, it took me 7 years. It doesn't happen overnight. Went to therapy, did all kinds of things, and realized that I could do this work. I should be doing this work. Most people don't really know what it feels like to go through addiction with your partner, go through affairs with your partner. They don't really know what that feels like. I did. And I knew I could help. So I quit my corporate human resources job. I divorced my husband, and I started my life over. I had no money. I had nothing. And I was the happiest I had ever been. And since that day, about 7 years ago, the universe has been able to rearrange itself to help scoop me along, because I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I want all of you to be doing what you're supposed to be doing, because here's a fact. Life is easier when you do things that you're supposed to be doing, that are innate to you. Later this afternoon, I'm going to talk pretty much for a half hour about not doing stuff you suck at. So stay tuned. You're going to love it. I do not any longer do things in my life or my business that I suck at because it sucks my energy. Here's a fact. I don't make up the rules sometimes, but this is a universal rule. This is my body. This is all of your bodies. We only have 100% energy, right? It's full. Your body is full of whatever's going on in your life. Nothing new, can get in when it's full. So you have to look at the things in your life that you're doing, or the people that you're hanging around with, that suck energy out of your life. And you must release them so that new stuff can come in. Because when you are living your life from the front seat, which we're going to talk about, I promise, here in a minute, we're going to spend the entire end of the day talking about living your life from the front seat and not doing stuff that you suck at in the back seat, you have more energy. You attract the right people into your life. You make more money because you're doing things that you're just good at. I mean, this is, I'm not curing cancer here. I'm just speaking the truth. This is just a fact. There's a lot of people that spend their life doing things that they should do. I'm all about hashtagging banish should, people. Get over it. Should this, should that, whatever. Start living your life for you in an authentic way, and all of those things will happen. You will attract the right people. Not all, how many of you in here are small business owners? About half of you. Okay. How many of you just work in corporate America or something? The rest. Okay, great. That's good. We're all employed. Excellent. No matter really what your occupation is, you want to be doing something that's easy for you. Based on your personality type, there are things that are going to be easier for you than others. So, in addition to being a psychotherapist, a coach, I also wrote a book. Because I've been obsessed with Myers-Briggs since I was about 20 years old. It was introduced to me in my first corporate job, and I was just like, what? This is amazing. I get this. This helps me understand myself and why you annoy the crap out of me and why we're really good friends, and I so get this. So I became obsessed with it. And I started using it all the time, and life was in the way and I didn't do a lot with it, and then I got my butt in gear and started doing stuff with it. But it is my favorite tool, but one of the only really bad thing about it is it's a little hard for people to understand. Luckily, one of my unique gifts, and it's not bragging because we all have unique gifts, one of my unique gifts is to take complex data and dumb it down. Right? Like, who wants all the jargons and the words and come on, just tell me like it is. Quit wasting my time. I'm busy. So I wrote a book, and we're going to talk about how you take this information to directly understand. We're going to do it this afternoon. I'm going to put 4 chairs up here, and I'm going to walk you through your car so you know what you're awesome at and you know what you suck at, so that you can leave here with tangible stuff on how to do that. I have a timer over here, sorry. So thank God I have good vision. Okay, so good. All right, just so you guys know I'm not like staring one person down. So we are going to spend the next apparently 50 minutes talking about personality type, Myers-Briggs. I am also going to put my spin on it because as a therapist and a coach, I get to have pretty awesome personal stories and information about people that I then get to share. I just change the names and I get to share it with you, so it's really fun. So before we get started, I wonder if everyone would do me a little favor and sign your name with your dominant hand and yell out some words about how it feels. I'm not collecting this, so I don't care where you do it. Just not on the placemat, maybe. How's that feel? Did I say dominant or non? Sign it with your dominant hand. Easy. Strong, easy. Something. Natural. Great. Great, great. Now, I'm sure you guys are smart women, you see where I'm going with this. Please now sign your name with your non-dominant hand and yell out some words about how that feels. Awkward. Childlike. Miserable. Stupid. Awkward. Okay. You guys get it. Smart ladies. Yeah, if you don't come back to me, I'm going to cough in this. You guys get it. This is a simple, fun, easy way to understand what I'm about to talk about in terms of the preferences. We're going to talk about introversion, extroversion, sensing, intuition, thinking, feeling, judging, perceiving. Each of those individually are fascinating. And we're going to be talking about those 4 things for the next 50 minutes or so. The reason I had you do this is because it is inevitable that someone says, but Jessica, I'm a little bit of both. And the answer is, yes, you are, just like this. You were all just able to do that, but one was awkward, uncomfortable, sloppy, childlike, never your go-to. And the other one, easy, natural, just completely your go-to. That is what this is like. There is also a scale of preference. So if anybody wants to take the actual certified, non-stupid Facebook version of it, I provide that as a service, and you can just check it out on my website, which is jessicabutts.com. But there is a scale of preference of 0 to 30. 30 is you are really extroverted. You know those people, right? You might think I'm one of them. A 1 extrovert still has the preference for extroversion. They just look really different. Okay? The last point I want to make before we jump into this, and I have mentioned it already, but it is worth mentioning again. Your type is innate. You were born with your type. There's always someone who wants to arm wrestle me about this. Oh, but Jessica, like in my 20s, I was so whatever, or my childhood, whatever. Life circumstances got in the way. I will arm wrestle you about this. I have weak little puny arms, but I will win because I am right. Your type does not change, your life circumstances change. So I hope in the rest of this morning, each of you can feel 90% confident, because what we're going to do is called a self-assessment. If you want to follow today up with a real assessment, you just do it to solidify it. But we're going to hopefully do a pretty good job today of doing this so that you can understand what your type is. So this afternoon makes even more sense. Because what we're doing is it's a little bit like an iceberg. The top of the iceberg, this stuff's pretty good. But then when you get under the waterline, there's a whole nother world going on under there. And that's what we're going to discover today. But this is all about you designing a life around who you really, really are. And unfortunately, sometimes things have to shift. I don't want everybody to go leave their husbands or quit their jobs, but sometimes you have to. That's why I'm a therapist as well. Okay, so let's get started. Let's talk about, and you guys are going to want to take some notes, I'm guessing. I lied. Before we get started, I want to say one last thing. Again, one of my BHAGs in this world is to get people to embrace their innateness. And my favorite saying for that, which I have quoted, is be unapologetically who you are. Stop pretending you're something else. Stop hiding from who you innately are. And just freaking own it. Because again, when you do, your life is easier. You make more money. You attract the right people. And so what we're about to talk about, there is no right or wrong answer. It just is. There's 16 different types, and no type is better than the other. God wouldn't do that, right? He's not going to make us a mess. Okay, so let's jump in. First one, introversion and extroversion. I know this one's really hard to see, but this is what we're going to cover. This is all about our source of energy. You would have to have lived under a rock for your whole life to not have heard of introversion and extroversion. Yet, there's a lot of kind of misnomers, like mistakes out there about what it really is. And what it truly is about your source of energy, where you get your best energy and where you give your best energy. Extroverts give their best self to the world. Introverts save their best selves for themselves. I've had many a workshop where extroverts actually say they think introverts are selfish. And that clearly rubs the introverts the wrong way. But there is this feeling for extroverts that there's an inner world going on with introverts that we know nothing about. Because it is a powerful, powerful world going on inside their heads. Introverts are internal processors. Extroverts are external processors. You know those really annoying people in your cubicle or wherever that are just talking and talking and talking, or something comes up on their computer and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And you're like, really? Do you need to share this with the world? That is an external processor. I always joke about this, that if I ever went back and got my PhD, and this is a total joke, I would love to crack open the skulls of an introvert and an extrovert and look for this SED filter that extroverts do not have. It like, phew, flies out their mouth, right? You guys all know this. Actually, you know what's funny about this is usually the introverts laugh louder than the extroverts about this because they're like, oh yeah, I know how annoying that is. It just comes out. Introverts, on the other hand, they literally need time to process in their head. There is no right or wrong way of being. It is simply understanding. There's a lot of pathologizing going on in our world right now. Judging other people. What's wrong with them? Why is she so quiet? She must be a bitch, whatever. Just knock it off. Just get to know people, and they might just be different than you. It might have nothing to do with them actually not being a nice person. It might. But it also might just be that they're a different type than you. And learning how to understand them so that you can communicate. Because here's a fact. 50% of the population are introverts, and the other half are extroverts. This is another fact that I did not make up. We live in an extroverted world. Yep, I got a nod right here. We live in a world that rewards extroversion. How many friends do you have on Facebook? How many things are you doing? Even our children, for God's sake. Like, the amount of activities that are going on in their lives, it makes me tired. What if your kid's an introvert? Let them be. It's okay if they just want to read or chill out. They need time to recharge. We need time to recharge. And it's not to say that extroverts don't either, but introverts really need it. When I'm working with a ton of introverted business owners right now, and we almost work less on their business and more on how to take care of themselves. Because you can't give your best self if you are not centered. And so part of knowing about yourself, knowing about your type, is grounding yourself. Like if one of you came up here and pushed me in the shoulder, I would go like this. I'd go like this. But I do a lot of work to ground myself so that I don't get knocked off. And this is the first step. There's a lot of steps, but this is the first step. In maintaining, I manage my life does not manage me. So if you're an introvert, quit apologizing for it. Own it. Tell people. Let them know, hey, thanks, I just need a minute. Or I have a ton of clients who work at Microsoft. I just go get some noise-canceling headphones. When these are on, you can't, it's like come on, am I aging myself, Les Nessman? Remember when he used to, yeah, God, that was good. Remember you used to have to knock on his door that had no door? That's a little bit like what it's like for introverts. Like, la, 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 I can't hear you. I need to block it out to recharge myself. Extroverts wear their heart on their sleeve, meaning this is how we are all the time. People ask me all the time, are you like this with your therapy clients? I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know how to be any other way. Be unapologetically who you are. Introverts, on the other hand, they wear their heart on the inside of their sleeve, meaning, you're my chosen person today, by the way. There's always somebody. You have to literally get close to me in proximity and emotionally to see my real self. Because I save it for myself. So I only give it, if I'm an introvert, to those people that deserve it. Friends, family. And so when introverts often say to me, people will say to me things like, God, I never knew that about you. And it's true because you are not showing them your best self. And that's okay. And we're going to talk about that more this afternoon when I diagram it out so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Because what they see is not you're the driver of your car, but your co-pilot. because your driver is saved for your best self. So no matter what you're doing in your life, you need to be aware of that and take care of your driver because she's driving your car. If she's tired, if she's exhausted, she's going to run off the road. Of all of the 4 dichotomies, every single one has a marginalized type, meaning in our society and in our world, they feel weird. I love working with weirdos. It's one of my favorite things. In fact, I have a weirdo group. It's called an intuitive group, but we always call each other weirdos. You'll know what that means in about 3 minutes. Introverts are the first marginalized type. People treat them different. They feel often like they are on the outside looking in. Every introvert in this room is going to go home and like crawl into bed tonight at like 5 p.m. and put the covers up. No more. All done. I need to recharge my batteries. So with there being no judgment, with us completely being unapologetically who we are, who are my extroverts in the room? About half. Who are my introverts in the room? Yep, about 50-50. And so knowing, you can sense an extrovert pretty much a mile away, you know, like, hey, what's going on? My name's Jessica, blah, blah, blah. And if you like railroad their energy or whatever, that's fine. Just soften sometimes. And we extroverts, you can probably tell already, I'm pretty honest. To be honest, we need to shut up sometimes. Right? Shut up, stop talking. I'm not going to because I'm your keynote, but I'm going to be talking. We have to shut up and listen, because while we are, whether it's in a meeting or an event like this, at our home with our kids, whatever, we do this. And introverts are still processing what we were talking about 5 minutes ago. So we have to pause, take a breath, check in, just shut up. We don't have to baby them. They're not stupid. But just give them a minute. I had this client couple, he was crazy introverted. And she literally could not stop talking. It was just unbelievable. And they would sit in my office, and I could tell he had stuff to say. He was a medical doctor. He was clearly not an idiot. And I would have to tell her, shh, stop talking. And we would sit there for like a minute. Do you know how long a minute is when you're sitting with a couple? It's so long. So long. I mean, and I'm an extrovert too, so I'm just like tapping my foot like, oh God, am I gonna be wrong? Like he needs to say something. And then, like this profoundness would come out of his mouth, and his wife would lean to him, and and all this stuff would happen. And I was just like, okay, there we go. There we go. So remember this. Okay, I see, that's why we need to keep time, because I can talk forever. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about. This is so keep track, by the way. Keep track of E and I, because this is all going to come together by the end of the day. Okay, the next dichotomy is definitely my favorite, because this has personally defined my entire life. So I am the marginalized type of this type, and I work with a lot of clients that are 2 out of the 4, 3 out of the 4, 4 out of the 4. And I know how hard it's been for me to only be 1 out of the 4. This is sensing and intuition. Note that I has already been used for introverts, so they use S and N for intuition. This is how we take in information. All of you are taking in a lot of information right now. Like there's this crazy chick up here talking about whatever, and I might be hungry, I need to go potty, like whatever's going on with you. A lot of information all the time. Sensors, S's, take in information via their 5 senses. If they can touch it, taste it, hear it, smell it, see it, it is a fact. They are 75% of the population. So you want to talk about a marginalized type, because when anything is 75%, you better believe that they are running the world. Sensors have built our society. And I don't mean, sometimes people find this judgmental, and I hope you don't. I'm just telling you the facts and speaking the truth. They are the 9-to-5ers. They live in the moment. God bless them. They are good with structure and routine, and they're pretty good with like day-to-day stuff. Then there's the other people, the intuitives, the N's. They take in information via their 6th sense. They have a hunch, or a gut feeling, or a speculation about something. They are always thinking about what's next. I am a 30 out of 30. If I could be a 50, I would be on intuition. I am always thinking about what's next. I call it a blessing and a curse, because if there's any intuitives in here, this is your money maker, people. This is your differentiator. We can see patterns like nobody's business. We're the weirdo whiteboarders in the world that you're like, how did you come up with that? But we suck at details. We're going to talk about backseat stuff and what we suck at. I'm the first one to admit what I suck at, and I suck at details. I have somebody to do that for me. It's awesome. There is no right or wrong type, it just is. N's take in information at the top of the funnel. They like the energy. They talk about woo-woo stuff. They talk about the universe. All this weird stuff. Sensors take in information in a concrete, factual way. If you think about a checkbook, we've got enough money. Know exactly how much money. We'll figure it out. No, I need to know. You know these people, right? So my story for this one is very, very early on. One of my very first couple clients in my therapy practice. Sorry, hold on. Look at your neighbor and tell them how pretty they are. Perfect. Okay. Come back. So this couple comes into my office, and pretty normal things like, we're just not communicating, whatever. So they start talking and talking and talking. This is normally how it goes the first couple sessions. They talk a lot, and I take in information via my gut. And he starts talking about, or she is complaining about him always wanting to go do something new. Like, babe, what if we sell the house and we move to Costa Rica and we open up a pineapple stand? Babe, what if we let the kids experience Europe and we just move over there, we rent the house, and we move to France and we have this amazing life? Or maybe we could live on a sailboat and just travel around the Caribbean. What if, what if, what if? His wife is a super strong sensor. I cry almost every time I tell the story. And she thought he wasn't happy in their marriage because he always wanted to be doing something else. Because to her, the day-to-day routine of their life is fine. It's perfectly normal and fine. She's okay getting up every day and going to work, and on the weekends you go to Target and you run the errands and you do all the stuff. That is literally life-sucking to intuitive types. We have to dream and play and have fun. Sometimes we got to do the stuff, and sometimes we just want to talk about it. I mean, my ideas are out there sometimes. But it's just understanding that we are different, to not pathologize each other. I wish I had a time check, because I'm going to just do this. I want to talk to you about intuitive kids, because you're all women in here. Intuitive children in a sensing world struggle. Because 9 to 5 school, scholastic tests, those multiple choice things, that is very difficult for a creative, experiential learner like intuitives. So when I was in graduate school, again, I sound like I'm bragging, but I was pretty good at my job, and I was pretty good in school, being a therapist. So I went to a school where you actually learn how to be a therapist, not like you sit in a classroom, like we did the work. So I was really good at that. But I could not pass those freaking tests. And I would cry and feel so stupid and get so down on myself. And my brilliant professor, because I didn't pass my final, and my brilliant professor came to me and said, Jessica, this doesn't matter. You have to pass. You have to do it. But you are going to be brilliant at what you do. You just learn in a different way. And he was absolutely right. And I urge you to not only think about this for yourself, but also for your intuitive children who are future thinkers. They're experiential learners. And to understand this about them so that you can love them for who they are and build that up in them. Okay, wow, it just got serious in here. Being unapologetically who we are. Who are my sensors? Shut up. For real, higher, I need to see. Wow, who are my intuitives? Oh my God, you weirdos. I'm with my people. I love it. That was an interesting mix. So it's very fun when I do this at different kinds of events. So I just did a virtual workshop for, sorry, this is judgmental, but Boeing, very sensing company. And it was like 90-10. But then I come to a bunch of like entrepreneurial women, and it was like 60-40 probably, which is very, very different. So again, we're just being unapologetically who we are. And if you weirdos want to know more, come talk to me later. Okay. Okay, so let's keep going. We got 2 more to go. Is this good? You guys are learning? Okay. Thinking and feeling. Now that we have taken in information via our senses or our gut intuition, this is how we go about making decisions. This is not going to come to any huge surprise to you. 75% of men are thinkers. 75% of women are feelers. To oversimplify this, thinkers make decisions with their head, feelers make decisions with their hearts. We're going to talk about this afternoon, but this is definitely one of those dichotomies that it is nice to know about yourself so that you can get a different perspective in your life. Us strong feelers, we need some logic. You know, I buy cars because they're cute. I don't know what any of that thing means. Gas mileage, I don't know what any of that means. It's probably not the best choice in the world. It makes me happy, but then when my car breaks down, I'm like, probably should have made a better decision. So it's nice to have people in my life that I trust that I can say, okay, come on, I need some logic here. And logic sometimes needs some heart in business. Because no matter what business we're in, we deal with people. We live in a world of people. So, it is no surprise, based on those numbers, who the marginalized types are in this. They are thinking women and feeling men. Since we're in a room full of women, I will focus on the thinking women. So, often you ladies describe feeling very left out. I will be honest, sometimes us feeling women call you guys names, and they're not very nice names that I won't say on stage, but it starts with a B. And while that may be true, it has nothing to do with you being a thinking woman. It's just how you make decisions. Thinkers are not impersonal people. They do, however, make impersonal decisions. And so we need to put our own oxygen mask on first, understand who we are, so that we can sit across from these women and just understand where they're coming from. I have a number of thinking women clients who run women-run businesses, like their customers are women. And they will often come to me in our first couple of sessions doing business coaching. I do that. And they will tell me their whole story, what they're struggling with, what's going on. And it typically comes down to they are not resonating with their ideal client. Sometimes you just gotta know. When it is about being unapologetically who you are, thinking women don't show up and try to be all moopy schmoopy and all that crap. It is going to be inauthentic. So just own it, learn how to communicate about it, and typically you may need to hire somebody to help you. Just like I don't do stuff I suck at, you thinking women, you're going to learn this afternoon, that is your back seat. It's bad, wonky energy when you try to be all touchy-feely whatever. It just feels yucky. And so again, just own it. Being unapologetically who we are. Understanding that this is just an innate thing. And the rest of us, 75% women, we need you. For God's sake, help us not make such bad decisions with our hearts and picking the color of our car or whatever. We need some logic and some impersonal reasoning to make executive smart decisions. So, with our theme, who are my feeling women? This is going to be good. Who are my thinking women? Dang, ladies. I'm going to did you raise your hand? Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Will you share very briefly, if you don't mind, I'm picking on you because you're a leader, how this is for you, and I'll repeat it back.
How being a thinking
Yeah.
woman is for me?
Yep.
Just what you described.
Yep. She's saying just what I described.
I just always been that way.
Yep.
And when I learned about this, it all kind of made sense, and it
Yep.
made me not try to be something I'm
Awesome. When she learned about this, it brought some enlightenment to her and realized there's nothing wrong with her, there's nothing wrong with you, and it's about embracing it now. I can't tell you how many people that I work with that are introverts, are intuitives, are thinking women, and when we get to the last one, think that there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. Just start embracing it. I promise you, your life will be so much easier and so much better when you start doing that, right? Yes. Okay, so that differential, that was like 70-30. 70% thinking women. And then, not that I mean, not the feelers aren't successful as well, come on. But thinking women, you guys got an edge. I'm going to be very honest. Because running a business, being in a man's world, is not for the faint of heart. You know, when I'm coaching my ladies about running their small businesses, you got to be in. This is a full contact sport. You got to gear up and show up who you are. Okay, let's round this off with the last dichotomy, and definitely the funniest. So I love funny, and this one is funny. This is all about how we like to be organized in the world and how we like our world organized. This is about a 50-50 split. And I don't know what Myers-Briggs were doing when they named this dichotomy, judging and perceiving, maybe because I'm a judger and it pisses me off that I have that title, but whatever. So I call it, you'll hear me say J and P a lot, because I don't like that word. So actually, kind of, now that I think about it, it kind of makes sense. Okay, J's, we like our world organized. If you're going to pick yourself up in the world and place yourself in the world, this is how you like things organized and how you want to be organized in the world. J's are organized. They are decisive decision makers. They are on time. They are scheduled. They are planned. They like to control one's life, and let's get really honest, they like to control everybody else's life as well. Because if you are out of line, you are messing with my schedule. Go. J's need to know what the plan is in order to relax. There's a lot of P's that hint that J's are not fun. Clearly, I take a lot of offense to that. I like to think I am very, very fun. I just want to know what the fun is before we do it. P's, on the other hand, this is the only one I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty jealous about. You P's are so like go with the flow and spontaneous, and we'll get there when we get there, and undaunted by surprise, and just don't worry about it. Such a lovely way to live. They also see about this far in front of their face. My partner is a P. It is unbelievable to me. He goes to the grocery store every day. And it doesn't even bother him. I refuse. Hey, babe, can you stop and pick something? No, I'm not doing that. I went on Sunday. That's what Jays do. I'm not going on Wednesday. I'll get takeout before I'll go to the grocery store. It's so annoying. Right? This is the funny one. I told you. So I'm going to tell my favorite, you guys are already getting it, but I'm going to tell my favorite story about this, because this is when I really got it. So my ex-husband and I, we, you guys are going to start like playing violins, went on this beautiful catamaran cruise around the British Virgin Islands a few years ago. I know. It was amazing. It is probably the most pee environment you could ever ask for. You really never get dressed. You wear a bathing suit the entire time. There's a chef and a captain. I mean, it's ridiculous. And our 8 friends are on the boat. And we get up the first morning. All you Jays are going to love this. We get up the first morning, and I take one sip of coffee, and I'm like, okay, what are we going to do today? Where are we going to go? Where on the map? Can you show me where are we going to snorkel? Ooh, what's for lunch? Do we get off the boat today? What kind of things can we do? What are the islands' names? Ooh, can you show me on the map? What time does the sun go down? I wonder what we're having for dinner. Do we get to get off and have drinks? On and on and on and on. And as soon as he was done describing the whole day, I was like, awesome. Now I can totally chill. I look over at all of my P friends and my P husband, and they are like this. Because I just ruined their day. Because P's love the spontaneity. That's half of the fun for them. But it actually, again, causes J's anxiety. It's so stupid, but it's real. Like, I wish I wasn't like this. Like, I get up on a Saturday and we're laying in bed together and being all schmoopy, whatever. And before, like, within minutes, my anxiety starts to raise because I'm like, God, I wonder what we're going to do today. And thank God he knows me and gets that. And it's just like, okay, hon, it's about 8. You're probably wondering what we need to do today. And so it's just understanding it in a life partner, in your kids. I'm going to go back to the kids again. This always gets really serious, but I am going to go back. Before you put your children, some people need medicine. I get that. But sometimes J kids that have P parents just need some structure. You think they have anxiety? They might, but they might just need to know what the plan is. Like the fact that schools don't tell kids now their schedule before they get to the first day of school is unbelievable to me. I would be worried for 2 months. Worried. Worry. Just tell me what the plan is. Tell your kids what the plan is. Walk them around the school. Here's your locker. Here's your classroom. Here's your thing. So they can chill out. The worst thing you can say to a J is, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Oh my God, that actually makes me more anxious. Don't say that. Help me with my neuroses and let's come together about a plan. Okay. Again. Oh, I'm owning it, people. I'm being unapologetically who I am. I'm a freak. My friends call me a Super J. It's not because my name is Jessica. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to be spontaneous. And that's okay. I'm owning it. Who are my J's? Whoa. That's why everybody was on time. I was really impressed, actually. I was peeing, and I walked in here and was like, oh my God, they already started. That's a J. I like it. Who are my fun, loving, spontaneous P's? Oh, I love you guys. Okay. I think I have a couple of minutes. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. How much? Oh, awesome. Okay. My sister, the first talk I ever did, my sister was in the audience and I didn't have a clock. And I said into the microphone, I was like, and I meant about the clock, and I was like, oh, I'm doing awesome. She still teases me about that. She's like, such a weirdo. Okay. Squirrel focus. Okay. Holy cow. All of this is in my book. And so I realize I don't have any slides for this, but if you would like to purchase a book, all of this is in here. So Myers-Briggs did not talk about archetypes. There's this guy named John Bowlby who came up with archetypes. Again, come on, they're so confusing. I can't even pronounce what he came up with. They're fine, but let's get real. Come on, too difficult. So I came up with my own that are really easy and really fun. I want everyone to think about their second and their last letter. S or N, J or P. These are your archetypes. NPs, intuitive perceivers. You guys are my squirrels. Remember that movie Up? Hey, whoop, squirrel, whoop, squirrel, whoop. You are very easily distracted by bright, shiny objects. Again, I'm just telling the truth. You have big, amazing, grand ideas that other people don't see, but you have a little bit of trouble following through. So oftentimes you need a super J like me to help keep you structured. Okay, that's one. Number two are the intuitive judgers, NJs. You guys, I have deemed the entrepreneurs. You have lots and lots of ideas, and you're really good at getting stuff done. Your fault, as this is my fault, is there is some tunnel vision sometimes. You do a little bit of this. I am so determined, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to... And you forget about all these other options sometimes. Okay? SJs. You guys are my police. Oh, thank God for you guys. My sister, my mom, lots of my assistant. I'm no dummy. You guys keep everybody on task. You are the do-gooders of the world. You are reliable. You are dependable. You will come rescue anybody from anywhere. You are the people who let people in on the street. Recyclers, animal people. Thank God for you guys. So the rest of us can screw off. Thank you. I bet Lisa's an SJ. Where's Lisa? Are you an SJ? I bet you are. She couldn't have run this without this. I mean, you gotta have it going on. Good job. Last but not least are my SPs. I call you guys the Nike Just Do It people. You are all about tangible stuff. Touch it, taste it, hear it, smell it, see it, but you're very spontaneous and you just want to do it right now. Let's just go have some fun. Painters, artists, people who jump out of airplane, extreme sport people. These are you guys. So as we learn these dichotomies, it is fun to start playing with them in a different reason, or in a different way. So in closing, this afternoon we are going to get way deeper. We are going to spend about a half an hour talking about not doing stuff you suck at. And yes, I'm aware there's a typo. I wonder how many of you noticed that. And my guess is it's all the S's. So this is the best story ever. I made this slide for this presentation I was going to do for this thing in Seattle called Business Theater Live. It's one slide. And how many words are there? 6 words. Usually I would have my assistant do this because I suck at this stuff. But I threw it together last minute. I was like, how can I possibly screw this up? Put it up on this huge screen. This is being videotaped for TV, the whole 9 yards, and it's behind me. So you cannot escape it. And there's a typo. Pretty obvious, but this is an intuitive's brain. Don't care about the details. You just miss things like this. So this afternoon, we are going to take your type. How many of you came up semi-confidently with a 4-letter whole type? Wow, lots of you. That 4-letter whole type is mind-blowing. I highly encourage you sometime before the end of the day today, at 3:30, I think I go back on, to go to my website, jessicabutts.com, under the book tab, totally free. All of the 16 types are listed, and there's a 1.5 to 2-page listing of your personality type. I highly encourage you, sit on the toilet and read it, or sit over wherever. That's what I do when I need to be alone. I sit on the toilet. Now you all know, you'll be looking for my shoes. Read that because it is powerful. One letter can make a huge difference. An ENFJ looks very different than an ENFP. Or an INFJ looks very different from an ENFJ. At the bottom of that free resource, it will tell you who your driver, your co-pilot, your drunk uncle. I know. You guys are going to be so interested by the time we're done. And your baby in the back seat. Who they are, so that when we come to back at 3:30, we are literally going to outline that. If you're not 100% sure, you're still going to get a lot out of it, but it helps. And here's the, the plug for the book. Come on. I had to fly here, so I only have a few books with me. But in the book, if you are confident about your type, it outlines the entire thing so that you can follow along this afternoon. We all have a unique brilliance in this world. It's just a fact. Stop trying to be somebody you're not. Stop trying to do something that you're not good at, and live your life in this front seat area, because it is easier and you will have so much more energy and so much more fun in your life. So that is my time for this morning. I can't wait to talk to you guys this afternoon. We're going to have a great another session, and enjoy your lunch and the rest of your day. Thank you.
Do we have all of our judgers seated, and our perceiving people are back talking? I just love that. That's such a great analogy. Thanks everybody for being here again. It's so great to see. I think we've got 300 here, and we're going to have 540 people at our luncheon today as well. So we appreciate you being here today. Now it's time for our Leadership Power Panel, and we've assembled 3 outstanding and highly successful local women leaders to join us today. The panel discussion is meant to be interactive, so we've prepared a few things so that you can get the most out of this session. First of all, when we get to the Q&A, we'll have a few of our staff members, I think Elizabeth, Ashley, and Chad, will be roaming the aisles with microphones. So you can ask questions. Secondly, in front of you, there should be a sheet of paper with all of our power panel's pictures on it, so that you can take notes and jot down things that you don't want to forget about this great session. And also, there's some smaller pieces of paper in front of you if you're shy, if you're an introvert and you don't want to ask a question into the microphone, you can write your question down, and then when we get to the Q&A part, you can raise your hand and they'll bring the question up here, and we can read your question. So we're looking forward to that and your participation. So today's panelists have brought their unique perspective and a great depth of experience. And again, our goal today is to inspire you to take your career to the next level. So please help me welcome Donna Paul, Paula Lennon, and Terry Martz. So we're going to start with Donna Paul. Donna is a PhD Associate Professor of Finance and Academic Director at the Carson College of Business at Washington State University. And we're going to go through one by one, and I'd like to give Donna a few minutes to give us a quick background and introduction into yourself.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. I believe we're on.
You're on.
So welcome. This is a great honor for me to be here with you today. It's actually my first time at this event, and I'm just very impressed with the turnout and everyone here. So as Laurie said, I am with Washington State University. I'm a finance professor, and I also lead the business programs on the Tri-Cities campus. The accent you detect is not really a Richland accent, though. So I thought I'd share a little bit about how I got to this point where I'm sitting before you today. I was born in the Twin Island state of Trinidad and Tobago and was raised there, actually. Went to high school there, did my undergraduate degree there, got married, had my children there. And we moved to the United States permanently in 1995. Before that, I actually came up to the San Francisco Bay Area to do my master's degree. And so that was actually the very first time that I came to the United States, is in 1989, which I know it's before some of you were born, when I came, and I still remember I had like my host family holding my name up, and this was pre-internet and all of that, so I thought, I'm coming to California, I just need a light jacket. And then they took me to the Golden Gate Bridge, and it was pretty cold. So my introduction, actually, within the first few weeks of being in the United States is when we had that big earthquake in California in 1989. So I had a pretty turbulent start to my experience here. I remember thinking, oh, okay, it's California, it's an earthquake, until afterwards one of my classmates said, I've lived in California my whole life, that was my worst earthquake. And then I was scared after it was all over. But I'm just very thrilled to be here today. And my story, when I think about leadership, my story perhaps is a little different from the way we might think of leadership. I think really of valuing others and their contributions, because I feel that that's how my leadership skills were developed over the years, because people just believed that I was capable and that I had values to contribute and that those values were worthwhile. So I did, how much more time do I have, Laurie? Okay. So from that experience of living in the US, I went back to Trinidad and Tobago. As I said, I worked with an oil company, and Trinidad is oil resource rich in the finance area. And then we came back to the United States, where I began teaching. And at the University of Oregon, we came because my husband was in school. And I was very much drawn to a career where I could make a difference in the lives of young people. I feel that I am so blessed to work in an environment that actually values intellectual curiosity and creativity, and where every day I get to be around young people who are really just bursting with potential. So I love my job as a professor, and I really enjoy the role that I have now as academic director, that I may have an opportunity to talk about some more. But what I do in my current role is really lead the Carson College of Business programs on the Tri-Cities campus, and that involves a lot of coordination across the campuses and across units within the campus. So I'll stop there.
Great. Well, we're going to get the opportunity to learn more about Donna as we go on. So thanks for sharing that. Next, we have Paula Linnan, and Paula is the Executive Director of External Relations at the Pacific Northwest National Lab. So Paula, give us a little insight into you as well.
Sure, I'd love to. First of all, I'd also like to say it's great to be here. I'm really quite honored and delighted to be with all of you and to be in the company of women that I really greatly admire and respect. So this is very fun for me as well. So I think rather than talk a little bit about a resume, I'll tell you just a bit about my background and experiences that I think have had an effect and an impact on my leadership style. And I'll begin by just noting that while I consider the Tri-Cities my home, and I have lived here for a long time, I actually have roots in St. Louis and Chicago in the Midwest. I grew up in St. Louis, in the city. I consider myself a city girl. And it's important to understand a little bit about my family and my background. So my father had an 8th grade education and was a carpenter. And my mother had a 10th grade education and for most of her life worked in a church rectory. So I provide this context because it was the culture of my family and my extended family that when one graduated from high school, you became a laborer if you were a man, and you became a wife and a homemaker if you were a woman. And I must say that I have great admiration and respect for these vocations, but it wasn't something that I saw myself doing, at least at that age and at that time. So I am a first-generation college graduate, and to put that in further perspective in terms of the challenge that I faced with my family, I actually have 67 cousins on one side of my family. And all of whom, most of whom I should say, are older than me, and none of whom elected to go to college. And so there was really this very strong culture of you're doing what and how can you possibly make that work. So this is a good story for me because I find that in the tenacity and in my working more than full-time and going to school full-time, that it really took a lot. You have to have a strong sense of purpose and be really centered and understand the long-term goal. And these were qualities and characteristics and lessons and skills that I feel like I learned very early in life. So I start with that context, and I'll fast forward a little bit. I actually taught in an elementary school both during and after college for a short period of time. You could do that in a private elementary school at that time. And shortly after college, I got my first supervisory position with one of 2 major private sector companies I worked for over the next 15 years. And I just got a tremendous amount of supervisory, leadership, management experience, just a whole bunch of experiences and a breadth of experiences, which was really great. So I'll fast forward to 1991, and that was the year that I jumped in my car and drove 2,000 miles across country alone. I did have a cat, I admit that, to a place I had really never been before and where I knew no one, and that was the Tri-Cities. And I did that to accept a job with Battelle at Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, which is where I am today and where I have spent the last 25 years of my career. I'm coming up on my 25th anniversary, so, and I can't even believe, I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but yes, it's true. And at the laboratory, I've had such great experiences and the pleasure, frankly, in our 50-year history, there have been 12 lab directors and I've worked with 6 of them, and I consider that quite the honor and really have benefited from their leadership and experiences. So as I have reflected on my leadership journey, which is now 35 years long, I have to say, it caused me to reflect in 3 key areas. And so these are ideas and things that I hold close to me. And the first is the respect that I have for people. So I agree with you. People are so important. None of us got here on our own. And whether it was early in life, having a friend or a family member or a counselor at school help you think through things, or it's colleagues at work, or it's people in the community that you meet, or it's bosses or staff members. We're all in this together, and collaboration and respect for people is a huge part of leadership. It's not about you, it's about the community. And second is respect for experiences. So I've had so many experiences, and I really like for people to understand I have not had a career ladder. People talk about career ladders. I've had a career lattice. So if you can envision, an ivy growing up a lattice, it doesn't grow straight up. It takes on a number of positions, and I've taken on a number of assignments, lateral, sometimes up, mostly just to get experiences. I really believe that luck is the definition of where preparation meets opportunity, and being open to those opportunities is huge. And then third is respect for having a strong sense of self and purpose. And when I say that, I mean both in terms of the company or the entity you're a part of, as well as understanding your own strong sense of self. And I'll probably comment a bit more on that as we go through that. And that's it. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me and having me.
Thank you so much, Paula. I don't know if all of you were here our first year, but Paula was our first recipient of our Athena Leadership Award as well. So it's no wonder that she was selected. So finally, we have Terry Martz. She's a PhD, Executive Vice President of AECOM and Environmental Technical Services President, URS Professional Solutions. So Terry, that's a mouthful. So
thank you. And let me just say, I'm impressed with the ladies that are on the stage. And, it takes a lot of hard work to accomplish the things that you've already accomplished. But it's an honor and a privilege for me to be here today. And my goal in coming here and talking with you is to not really talk about myself and what I've done, but I will share with you what I've done and about myself, in the hope that it will inspire you and it will help you to navigate what you would like in your life. I'm a big believer of living intentionally and thinking for the long term, because if you don't think in long term and long range, you don't always navigate and get where you want in life and what you want out of life. So I'll tell you a little bit about my background. We talked about the role I have with AECOM. You know, they've been large businesses that I've been running for AECOM and its successor companies. You know, in this area, you've heard of many of the companies I've worked for. AECOM is who I currently work for. Previously, that was URS Corporation, and you may have heard of them. Previously, before that, it was Washington Group International and Morris Knudsen Corporation. And prior to that, it was Westinghouse. And if you look at my resume, I have all those names on my resume. And I've really maintained employment pretty much with one company with a few, I'll call it deviations along the way. I always had a desire to run businesses. And that desire sort of was born in me early on in life. And like we've heard here, I come from a large, what I'll call extended family, lots of cousins, lots of aunts and uncles, but we grew up poor in the western Pennsylvania area. That's coal mining region. My father was a steel mill worker, my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and I have an older sister and a younger brother, and we all produced 3 doctors from a mom and dad who were not educated people. The fact of the matter is that I had this desire to run businesses and had the opportunity to run businesses. That started pretty early for me. I had a paper route when girls didn't have paper routes. But that allowed me to have a few nickels in my pocket and allowed me to help the family. And that really put me on a path to love to run businesses. Here in the region, I've had the opportunity for AECOM and URS to run our operations that service the high-level waste mission here. So WRPS, Washington River Protection Solutions, was under my responsibility, as was the responsibilities for the treatment plant facility here in Hanford, and we're partnered with Bechtel. So that's about a $1.2 billion revenue responsibility for a year, 3,500 employees, with the most important things being safety, and taking care of our customers and helping our employees be all that they can be. And as I've looked at the responsibilities I've had, other jobs that I've had have been in the nuclear business and the high consequence business. So I've been in defense programs, and this is designing and building components that go into aircraft carriers and submarines, propulsion systems and shipboard electric design. I've been involved in non-proliferation programs around nuclear, which is leading programs around the world that dismantled missiles in Siberia and that set up monitors that detect the movement of nuclear materials around the world. I've worked in commercial nuclear power. And so I say these things not to be bragging, but to say, you know, from starting as a paper route person, entering into my Westinghouse career as a secretary and taking advantage of the education programs that were available to me, and then seizing opportunities as they came along, that opened up doors for me to be where I am here today. And I want you to say, one thing from the message I would take from this is the land of opportunity. You know, it truly is what you want it to become. I've traveled the world. I've done business in most countries. I've had people working simultaneously in every time zone. And that's really something that I would say is take advantage of the education programs. Keep your name pure, because that's the only thing you have in your life. And if you show up and take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you, and when people give you opportunities, you do them to the best of your ability with the highest integrity that you can operate under, I believe that that's a pathway towards success. And I'll talk more about that, but I did want to tell you that. I'm happy to say I've been married for 35 years to my high school sweetheart. I picked the right guy because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him, because that has caused me to live in many states. I've lived in Pennsylvania, lived in Washington, D.C., I've lived now in Washington State here. I've just moved to South Carolina, so I'm just settling that. And if I didn't have the right husband who was supportive, I would never have been able to do that. So I really wanted to give him credit where credit's due, but I also believe pick companies that have high integrity and high morals, because you like to work on projects that are meaningful. We make the world better, but you like to work with people and serve customers who have that kind of integrity as well. So those are the few things I wanted to mention today.
Great, thank you so much. Well, it looks like we picked the right 3 people for our panel today, so we're going to get to know them a little better. We're going to start with Donna, and Donna, if you would, tell us what a typical day for you is like at WSU Tri-Cities, and should we say go Cougs? How's
Go
that?
Cougs, absolutely. And I have to say also, Terry, I have been married for 35 years, and I echo what you said about the blessing of having a partner who is supportive.
Same. Not 35.
Yes. So, Laurie, I don't have a typical day. It depends on where we are in the cycle of the semester. So maybe I could talk a little bit about some of the things that I'm responsible for. Some of you may know, and some of you may not know, that our students receive one Washington State University degree. It's not distinguished by the campus where they got that degree. And so my role is to work with my college to ensure that the programs that we deliver to our students on the Tri-Cities campus are the same experience that our students will have at any other campus. And then also to work with my colleagues on the Tri-Cities campus so that we can develop programs that meet the needs of the community and of the campus. So we straddle those worlds all the time, and anybody you know who is in leadership at WSU Tri-Cities deals with this. So for example, this afternoon I'm going to have a meeting with my dean and other leaders in the college, and yesterday I was talking to my vice chancellor about the projections and initiatives that we are following. So my typical day involves, or my typical activities involve, really thinking about the needs of our students and how they're being met. Whether it be what can we do to have them more engaged, what activities can we have them engaged in, what programs do we need, what faculty do we need to hire. Right now we have an active search for a hospitality business management faculty, and that was one of the initiatives that I had when I first came to Tri-Cities, was to launch the hospitality program on our campus. So we wear a lot of hats, and depending on where I am in the semester, things change. By the time things get a little bit later in the semester, I might be dealing with students who have complaints or faculty who have problems. And so the bottom line is I'm involved in engaging with our students, engaging with our faculty and staff, really to ensure that our students have the best experience that they could possibly have. And that means talking to a lot of people and tapping into what they are good at and facilitating them doing what they're good at so that we can really all be successful.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much. Next we'll go to Paula. So all leaders stand on the shoulders of those who came before them. Have you had mentors? I imagine you have, along your leadership journey, and if so, what did that relationship look like?
So yes, I've had a lot of mentors along the way, and I have to say I think it looked different at different times in my career. So early on in my career, I think most of my mentors tended to be my bosses, actually, people I grew up around and admired and respected. And I think as I worked through my career, I started to get introduced to people in the community, or maybe I would be serving on another board, or I had a number of past bosses that I continued to maintain a relationship with. I do think that the more senior you get in a position, sometimes the harder it is to find a mentor. And I think mentors cannot be assigned. I think mentors and mentees choose one another because it's a mutually beneficial relationship in some way. So towards the latter part of my career, I actually found a great advantage in having kind of a mini board of directors. And so now I have a number of people. These jobs are so expansive that having a number of people that can provide advice or help you think through an idea or potentially something that you're facing for the first time is so valuable. And so those mentors now include fellow board members, my brothers, my husband, who's the kindest person I know, and past bosses and peers, and I've had staff members that have provided great counsel and mentorship in some areas. So I will say that I have studied my mentors a lot, and I feel very strongly that my best mentors have been people who tell me what I need to know, not what I want to hear. So they do not flatter me, but rather tell me what I need to know. And as I've turned into a mentor for others, I really keep that in mind. And I have a model, it was a AAA model, and now it's a quadruple A model and a quintuple A model. So I'll just note, and this is particularly true for women in my opinion, that it's great to get the first A, AAA, which is advice from women, and you're getting it right here. And that's great, and it helps with some perspective. But I think it always has to go further than that. And if you're really a great mentor to somebody, you provide advocacy. That means that you are advocating for them, whether they're in the room or not, that you're looking for opportunities for them, you're looking for assignments for them. I think great mentorship requires action. So it's not just about words, but it is in fact about actions that you can take on their behalf. I think it's about access. I think particularly at a senior level, getting access to important people, or being able to come along and shadow a particular interaction, go to a meeting, is incredibly important for people. I think I can go on and on about the A's, but I think the last aspect of it is sort of the availability and the allotment of your personal time. So if you're a great mentor to somebody, that means you're going to take a chunk of your time and really spend that with them. So as you're all thinking about mentors that you have and becoming mentors, and I hope you all do and all are mentors for other people, that model, I think keeping that in mind is helpful sometimes. So yes, is the short answer, and that was the long answer.
Boy, that's great advice. Terry, so what has been the biggest risk you have taken, and what did you learn from the experience that has made you more successful?
Well, I'm going to build off the mentoring comment for a moment because I think it relates to my biggest risk. I had a mentor once that said to me, Terry, if you want to be a general manager, you've got to find the dragon and slay it. And I thought, what did that mean? So I didn't really understand the feedback that he had given me at the time, but it relates to the biggest risk I ever faced, because as I wanted to be running businesses in a very technical world, I had to find the opportunity, and it wasn't something that you were going to necessarily get easily, because there were not a lot of women in the business running businesses at the time, so there were not a lot of role models that I could follow. And then secondarily, my career path was not that traditional, that would put you on a track to run businesses. So the opportunity came to me that there was about a $25 million business in our corporation that was troubled. It was troubled in many ways in that the market share was declining rapidly. It was not competitive in the way that we had pieces of that business, and it was losing money. And so the corporation pursued 3 different individuals to go take on this challenge and run the business and turn it around, and they all turned it down. They came to me as a last option inside the company, and I saw that as the dragon, and I had an opportunity, if I could, to slay it. And it immediately, and that feedback had come to me 5 years earlier, but that was my opportunity. So the big risk was I could take this job that I knew was really difficult to do and that I didn't have all the skill sets to do, but it would be putting me on the path to be able to realize the goals that I had for myself. So I had to take the risk. I had to put myself in the situation that I could fail, but I also had to put myself in the situation of knowing what I knew and what I didn't know. And then I had to surround myself with people who could help me with the blind spots that I had. I had to give a vision to the team because the people in that business had to change along with me. And here I was, I took this job, and one of the first things I had to do was ask everybody on the team to take a 10% pay cut, including me. So I took the hardest job that I ever had and actually took less money in my pocket. But if the leader wasn't willing to do what I was asking everybody else to do, then I thought that was pretty hypocritical. So we made the changes, and we had to really change and position the company differently from a marketing perspective and a technology perspective in order to make us more productive. And in the long run, in about 2 years, we turned that thing around from a losing business to a profitable business and a growing business. And that was the dragon, and I slayed it. And the thing that risk made me do was, number one, believe in myself that I could do it, and then two, showed people I could do it. And so when the next hard project in business came along, I was on the top of the list rather than the last of the list.
Oh, that's a great story. You're very, very brave. Now we'll go back to Donna. Other than your obvious natural ability for leadership, how did you build your leadership skills over the years?
You know, I wish I could say that from my early teens I've been very intentional about wanting to build leadership skills, but that really has not been the case. There is a proverb that says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And I feel that over the years, I have surrounded myself with people whose words I was willing to listen to and whose example I was willing to follow. I actually could think of one of my professors when I was doing my MBA at Stanford. I handed in a paper to him and he wrote back on it, "Your fine mind is capable of better work than this." So that's the culture in which I was raised, the culture where you have value, you have worth, and you're actually capable of achieving it. And I could think back to high school when I was in student leadership, and the faculty advisor for my student leadership group was also my French teacher. And so after class, she would be talking to me about student government, but she'd continue talking in French. And those are things actually that, as small as they may seem, those are the things that stretched me over time. I have not had long-term mentors, but as I look over my life has always been about connecting with people who believe in themselves and the contributions that they can make, and who share the value that we really could make a difference if we are diligent to exercise our gifts. So that's basically what I think I have done. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that is my answer. That doesn't work on exams with my students, but hopefully it works for you.
It absolutely works with you. You can say whatever you want, Donna. Okay, we'll go next to Paula. Your organization counts on you for vision, and it's a leader's job to have the compass in their head. Where does your vision come from?
So this is where the people that were paying attention earlier are going to be able to do my Myers-Briggs profile pretty quickly. This is perhaps the aspect of leadership that I love the most. I am drawn to complexity. I'm drawn to big, hairy, audacious goals. I'm drawn to messiness. I'm not afraid of those kinds of things at all. I think visioning is clarity for me. And I think there is a huge difference between visioning and vision. Visioning is the process that you have to go through in order to come to a vision. So this is a tough question because I think we all come to this in different ways. So I'll just do this in the context of if you're at work and in a company. What I think you have to understand first and foremost is why you exist as an organization. And so if you think about Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, we exist to transform the world through courageous discovery and innovation. We do that for the nation. We do that for the Department of Energy. That's why we exist. So you really have to understand why you exist. And then you have to understand what your current state is, so where you are today, and have a lot of clarity about that. And then you can move into that opportunity space, which is sort of the, what is the potential out there? And frankly, the only way you can know where you are today and what the potential is out there is through strong engagement and dialogue with your stakeholders. And when I say that, it could be your founders, your company founders. It could be your customers for sure, your employees, the community. There's all kinds of ways to gather that kind of feedback about both what is your current state right now and what is the opportunity space. And so I think you get into the visioning when you have done your homework in that regard and have at least enough information where then you can gather what I like to think of as the fearless thinkers and the what-ifers and the sort of start the crazy talk. And have the kind of environment where people feel very comfortable throwing out those ideas and are not constrained or confined or worried about other people judging them. And going through that to see really what the potential is. And we did this, by the way, I've worked with the leadership team in doing this about 7 or 8 years ago. We had a vision, a mission and a vision at the laboratory that was like 2.5 pages long. So it wasn't really very memorable, and we actually went through this exercise and really discovered in the end that, you know, our vision is that our science and technology is really going to make the world more prosperous, more safe, and more secure. So going through that visioning exercise is great, but in the end, vision requires a call. It requires a decision by leadership, because if you don't make that decision and if you don't know what the vision is, then you can't really move forward. And so great leadership really lands on that and then inspires others and aligns others to meet that vision once you've gone through that. So that's my general sense for that.
Thank you so much. That's great advice. Terry, in your opinion, how will the role of women in business change in the next 5 to 10 years? And what can be done to make us more prepared or equipped for success?
I think this is a great question, because you talk about an inspiring conference, you know, I talk about living intentionally, you know, where are we going to be in the next 5 years, 10 years, 50 years? Well, my view is that new fields will be opening up, and that's going to create opportunities for us to walk in through those open doors. You know, I'll just use the latest entertainment industry. You talk about the industry at large is talking about that women and minorities are underrepresented in the arts. That's just one example in the next 5 to 10 years where we're going to see more women, you know, writers, we're going to see more women producers, you know, more women in media spots. And so I just use that as one example, because I think as we think about sort of world vision of women, equality of women are going to continue to come up, and the lifestyle of people are going to continue to come up around the world. And so I think that it's important for we as women to be thinking about those new areas and think, is that something I might be interested in doing? You know, like I've been in this business 40 years this year. I can't believe it. It has gone so fast. But as I think about the next 50 years, and I hope to see the next 50 years, because I've had several of my family members that I've seen 100 years in last year. And so I said, well, what do you want to do in the next 50 years? I probably want to do some things like write some books, maybe write poetry, do some things that's very different from the things that I do today. And so as I think about fields that will open up, that's one. I think entrepreneurship is another. There's going to be more women leading businesses. And I think that we need to continue to encourage women to do that, follow their passions, and if that produces businesses for them, help them be in that. But I think we'll see more entrepreneurs and business leaders. I also think politics. I think, you know, we may see, I hope we see, a woman president before too long, whether it's this year or another time. You know, I'm not talking politics, but the fact of the matter is we do see more women in politics, in leadership, in states, more in the Senate, more in the House, and certainly in local governments. And so I think politics, not only nationally, but globally, will open up opportunities for women. And I think also, you know, the role of women is going to come full cycle, and we're already seeing this, where many of us have been cared for by our parents, and now we're caregivers, right? So we're caregivers to our children, we're caregivers to our community at large, but we're caregivers for our parents. And that is, and even, you know, I'll call it our extended family, because sometimes you end up collecting, maybe in my cases, aunts and uncles that have needed care. And so I would also say that I would hope women would take roles of finance, because I think that's a really big empowering thing for women. is to be able to stay out of debt or manage debt and make sure you're being wise in your investments, because you may not only have to care for your own family and care for your own children, but you may be called upon to care for others who you care a whole lot about. So I think, as I think about the role of women over the next 5 to 10 years, I see us in much more forward-thinking, forward-leaning leadership roles, but also much more responsibility in being part of the solution of caregiving. And it could be caregiving of this nation, it can be caregiving of the people of this nation, and it can be caregiving of people around the world. And we have to be equipped and enabled to provide for that need.
Thank you, Terry. That's a reminder. This afternoon we have one of our workshops taught by Sean Murrow about being smart with your money. You've earned it, now be smart with it. So I'm sure a lot of you will want to go participate in that workshop this afternoon. So back to Donna. John Maxwell says, "One is too small a number to achieve greatness." Talk to me about the importance of delegation in your leadership and its benefits to you and your team.
Okay, I do want to respond as you talked about finance, though. Terry, one of the nicest things that a student has said to me afterwards, after taking my class, is that because of you, I'm inspired to pursue this male-dominated field of finance, having been her only female business professor. So that is really very, very gratifying. And then also, I will answer the question, but also as Paula was talking, I reflected, when you talked about as an organization knowing why you exist, I think we all, as individuals, that's where we start, right? Why do we exist? What's our purpose? What do we stand for? What do we stand on? And I really liked that analogy that you presented as we think about visioning and where we want to go and what we want to strain towards. Because as I think of being resilient, I think of it as straining towards what it is you want to accomplish, because you know why you exist, what your purpose is, but that being based on pretty unshakable values that allow you to return to center. And that's kind of looking at what's your state, right? Because you look, as we think in whatever area of life you want to apply this, I don't think I'm the only person that kind of veers from what I say I stand for or what I stand on. And so that ability to regroup and to come back to center while still pursuing the difficulties and the turbulence of life, I think is really important. Now, the question you asked me about delegation is a really great one for me, because I work with my colleagues, and my colleagues actually have areas of competence and expertise that I don't have. So when I think about delegation, it's not about delegation. If we have a task, we come together, and it's really, as a leader, about figuring out a way to facilitate our members of our group, our team. How can they do what they are good at doing, and what resources and guidance do I need to provide to get that done? However, I have to say I often end up not delegating the things that I think will take our faculty away from their core areas of expertise and excellence that they could shine in. So there are times, I have to admit that I end up doing a little bit of the run-of-the-mill work in order to allow them to really spend their time doing the things that they're good at.
Great, thank you so much. Back to Paula. So leaders have to make tough calls. What goes through your mind almost as a filter when you have a difficult decision to make?
So yes, I think that's true, that leaders do often have to make tough calls, and I feel like I'm going to be a broken record, because I'll come right back to fundamental principles and understanding a sense of mission and purpose. And I would add, as Donna stated, values to that. I think that you have to consider all of those things when you're making a decision. I think those are the things that allow you to accelerate decision making. But having said that, I do often say to myself, first and foremost, do I have the appropriate amount, and I'm just going to say, or minimum amount of information, because often you have to make decisions quickly. And I think the longer that you are in your career and the more experiences you have, you can make decisions more quickly and perhaps based on lesser and lesser information. Whether that's intuitiveness or not, I don't know. And then I think you have to think a lot about, will this decision accelerate the impact or the outcomes that we're seeking? First and foremost, are you going to deliver on that vision and on that mission? And then there's a series of 2 or 3 other questions that I might ask myself, including, will this decision enable our staff to really excel and to be better at what they're doing? Will this decision delight our customers in ways that we can't even expect? Will this decision deliver on the high performance and the reputation that we have in the market? And sometimes it gets a whole lot easier when you do that. Now, I will just provide you with one example about where values come into play. So many companies have values iterated, and the question is, are you really living them? So let's take integrity and creativity and so forth. I used to serve on these panels that were called PARCs, Personnel Action Review Committees, where we would look at a potential termination or disciplinary action as a peer group and make sure that we were doing the right thing. And people, we may have had a staff member who, for instance, maybe deliberately put the wrong information on their travel expense or lied about something. And it was always interesting to me because we would get into this debate, and I'm really not a black and white person, but we would get into this debate, and so I thought to myself, gosh, did that employee just lie a little, or did they, lie a lot? And that is integrity. And so if you say you have integrity as an individual or a person, you at least have to understand what that means in the context of making some decisions. So that's just one example.
Thank you, Paula. Now we'll go back to Terry. So, Terry, during the span of your career, have you ever experienced discrimination or inequality? And what tactics do you apply to gain more balance?
No. No, I'm kidding. I said it really is something that I would say I experienced pretty early. The fact that I talked about this little paper route example. That started, I was 4th grade. And while, it wasn't a big town, I was like delivering 25 papers. The fact was that carrier never had a girl want to do that. And so my parents had to vouch for the fact that I was capable and willing and, trustworthy enough that I could do that. So not only was I willing to say I will do this and can do it, I had to have somebody come alongside of me to help bolster that first experience. But that was an important first experience because, quite frankly, I would have been typecast that women don't do this. And at that time, I really could do it and actually did that paper route until I graduated high school, which is, a long-term commitment. And it taught me a lot about the business skills that I have today. Now, that also sort of set me on a path that, as I indicated, I started early as a secretary, and that put me in a typecast. So I was cast as a secretary while I was still getting an education as a professional, and I had to live through what I'll call some pay inequity early in my career, because I started low, and then as I moved into professional roles and into supervisor roles, I had to do some catch-up work. And the only way that was going to actually happen was to do this career lattice you heard about, because I had to move across business units and across divisions, because in new settings, I was seen as the professional or the supervisor or the manager that I was, but in the old settings, I was seen as the, clerk or the secretary that I was too. Nothing's wrong with either of those roles, but it wasn't where I was going, it was where I was. And so I would encourage you that if you're encountering what you think is a drain on your pay, you might consider some of these cross-unit or cross-company activities, because that helps you get the pay adjustments in a more rapid rate, and that really gets you to that point. I would also encourage you to do your homework. So you got to know, number one, what those jobs are worth, and you need to understand that. Now, I can't believe everything that's on the internet, so let me just tell you that. But you can do some homework to understand, by networking and other means, what these jobs really entail. And you have to be willing to go ask for it. Okay, so I've been in situations that unless I was assertive enough to go ask for the raise that I thought I should deserve, I wouldn't have got the raises that I would have deserved. And then I also learned about what I'll call the total compensation packages that could be available to you in different careers. So in different settings and different careers, you have different ways of getting compensated, and you need to be educated about those and be willing to understand what people get in the different roles, and then be willing to ask for those things as well. And if you're not going to get them in the places that you have asked for them, you go pursue the places that you want to, that are more recognizing the value that you bring. Now, all of that is maybe dealing with what I'll call some of the inequity issues. And I tease about discrimination because early on in the 70s, when I started working in the professional fields that I did, there were just not a lot of women, and there were a lot of, I'll call it, backward ways. That has corrected itself over time, but you had to sort of act gracefully in the face of that. And I have found that if you can be a little tough-skinned and act gracefully, that people tend to rise up to the level that you are, rather than you going back to the place that they were. So that's how I've dealt with that in my experience, and I would honestly say that I have not experienced that in the last, I would say, 20 years. And that is probably because I learned to navigate that early. And so that would be my answer to that.
Yeah, could I just reinforce that? Because there have been a ton of studies on pay, and it is a true statement that women are very gracious about these conversations. And you said, and I fully agree, you need to be assertive about it. You need to have valid information for sure, and be assertive about it. Part of the reason that there is the inequity is because women don't go in and ask, and men do. And so I fully agree with you and would like to reinforce that and encourage you to think about that.
Boy, that's great advice. I think actually this afternoon, you guys are doing a great job of teeing up our afternoon sessions. We've got a workshop on negotiations, so that should be very helpful. Well, we have about 10 minutes left. I've got some more prepared questions, but we'd love to get your questions if you have any. I know we've got some, we'll get our staff out here with roaming mics. If you want to raise your hand, please wait till they get to you to ask a question, or if there's any questions on papers, they can be brought up here as well, and we'll read them for you. Does anybody want to be brave and ask a question? There we go. We've got one here. Okay. We'll get your mic turned on for you there. Okay. I believe it's on. Okay.
Bottom? Hello? Okay.
There you go.
So how would you guys, I guess, in your experience, how have you dealt with managing men who respond better to men than women, I guess?
That's a great question. Who wants to take that? Terry's brave. I think Terry's got a lot to say about this.
We're just all jumping up to answer that question. But I just think, first of all, it is awkward as a woman, and it's as awkward for the guys. So let me just say that we have to recognize that people are people, and we don't always, if it's a new experience for the lady or the men, you have to go into it recognizing we're going to get through this together. And so I say it's a bit about being authentic, valuing them, not trying to make them women, and not trying to become guys, because there's definitely differences. But I think that what I've found is that an analogy that I like to use is sports. And good teams have recognized the differences of their teammates and that the roles that they play. So what I have found, and I've worked with many men, I've enjoyed working with men, I've worked for men, I've got many men who've worked for me. And so, first of all, I take them for what their face value is. I walk in there with an approach of trust and viewing them as competent. And, I don't try to be overbearing. I try to be collaborative and be part of the team and making it clear about what we're trying to accomplish. And stay sort of task-focused in, the vision of where are we trying to go as a team or an organization. What is our roles and responsibilities each of us play, and how do we play as part of that team? Sort of like maybe playing this sport, you need to know what are the game rules and how are we going to go about it. And then being pretty honest about the team of how is that working. So being self-evaluative and how do we make improvements. So I think going into it, recognizing that, number one, it's awkward for everybody, and so just give it some time to start to gel, but trying to be very clear about where we're trying to go and what are we trying to accomplish, what are the roles and responsibilities of each of the people on the team, and what are the rules of engagement we're going to use, and then go forth and do, and then use corrective action as it is necessary. Now, there's sometimes that people can deal with that and sometimes that they can't, and that you have to work through too.
Thank you, Terry. Paula, do you?
Sure, I would say don't ignore it. But secondly, don't assign motivation, because I think a lot of times we assume certain things because of an interaction, and what I found is when you have, and you've all heard this term, a crucial or a candid conversation with somebody, sometimes you learn something else. So if you can sit down with a person and you can start with, listen, I think we both have the same goal in XYZ, whether it's the same goal for the company or the same goal to see an outcome. But I'm struggling a little bit with this interaction, and I would like to talk about that and really seek to understand, because a lot of times we're so human. We just assign that motivation and we say, you're thinking this way, or I believe you're treating me in a certain way. And sometimes we're just not right about that. So don't ignore it. And don't assign motivation, and then sit down around a common goal or outcome, which I think gives us the objectivity we need to move forward.
Thank you, Paula.
I'd like to add one more thing, if I could, because let me tell you, the other thing that I would add to that comment is I have found myself lots of times on business trips with colleagues of mine that are men, and that is also, I think, a very important matter, that you need to handle that appropriately. Handle that such that their spouse or their significant other would never have an issue, and neither would yours. And so I would just also caution about those kind of environments, that you really have to be careful and have accountability partners around you with that. So
thank you. Looks like we've got another question. Chad, do you have somebody out there? Oh, I thought you were standing. Okay, got a question over here. We'll get the microphone to you. Boy, we're really getting great insight from three of our most successful women here today. Hopefully you're all enjoying this. All right, question here.
All right, thank you. With giving yourself opportunity to grow and currently advancing in your career, how do you deal with work-life balance, right? So as women, we have our relationships and our kids. How do you really manage that?
Well, I know we could probably all answer that. I'll start. It really makes the world of difference if you have a support structure. Even with that, it's hard. You are not going to have everything at the same time. I remember when I was doing my PhD, I was away for so long. I was just gone all the time. So I had this great idea that every morning I would cook breakfast for the family, because that was somehow my way of making up. So I'd make French toast, and I soon gave up on that. It just didn't work. And so what I would say is know what it is you really want. Make sure you have the support. Be willing to work hard. But also, you have to decide what your non-negotiables are in terms of what you will not give up, or what you will be willing to wait longer to achieve because you have other pressing priorities. So all I can say is that it's not difficult, but having people around, it's not easy, but having people around you who support you, to me, I don't know how I would do it without that.
Great. Okay, I think we're right at 11:30. So I have a question here that's one of my favorite. We're seeing these women who've been in their jobs for 25, 30 years or so, obviously very seasoned professionals who have gained great success. But, we all started somewhere. And so I have a question I would like, if you don't mind, for all of you to answer. You've been through leadership and a lot. You've learned a lot at this point. What would you tell your 20-year-old self if you could go back in time and mentor her? Maybe we'll start with you, Terry.
My 20-year-old self, I'd say, don't be afraid so much. Don't be so hard on yourself. You know, I'm nicer to other people than I am to myself. And I would say, be nice to yourself. And the other thing I would say is, this was a good thing. I've been journaling for 20 years. And people ask me, what has helped you maybe have a good track record of success? I try to take at least 30 minutes of my day in the morning to write down what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what am I dealing with, and collect that information over time. So I'd say stick with your journals because they have been a good tool for you to be intentional, be aware of the mistakes you're making, what's derailing you, and how you can correct that. So those would be the things I would say to myself. Dream big, don't be so hard on yourself, don't be so afraid, and stay tuned into the way you get centered and know you're doing the right things by keep journaling and reflecting and acting.
Thank you, Terry. Paula, when you were 20, what would you go back and tell Paula Lennon, 20-year-old?
That's such a great question. I really haven't thought about it, but I guess I would say to myself, relax, it's going to be okay. Stop taking responsibility for everything. Be a little bit more lighthearted. Keep taking chances. That's worked out great. And say thank you much more often and spend much more time sort of appreciating the little moments in life. Yeah.
That's great. Donna, 20-year-old Donna.
Well, my 20-year-old self thought she could conquer the world, so I would actually say, you go, girl. But I would say listen more, ask more questions, and learn what to do with the answers. I say this to my students now. I say, being educated means that you know what questions to ask, you have confidence to ask those questions, and you know what to do with the answer. So I suppose that's what I'd say.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies. You've inspired me. I imagine they've inspired you as well. Please join me in giving them a warm thank you applause. Appreciate that so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Tri-City Regional Chamber's Athena Awards Luncheon. I'm Lori Mattson, President and CEO of the Tri-City Regional Chamber. We're so proud and pleased to have hosted 300 women earlier today. What do you all think so far of the morning portion of our conference? It was incredible. And we have 520 or 540 here today for our luncheon, so thank you so much. We're going to recognize the accomplishments of two outstanding women leaders that help make the Tri-Cities a bolder, brighter, and better place. We're also really pleased to welcome Whitney Keys, the founder and CEO of Propel Productions, winner of the Small Business Administration's Women in Business Champion of the Year Award in Washington State, and author of the book, Propel: 5 Ways to Amp Up Your Marketing and Accelerate Business. Thank you so much, Whitney, for being here this morning. And also, Jessica Butts just did a phenomenal job this morning as our morning keynote as well. At this time, I'd like to recognize a couple of elected officials who've joined us. Normally, we have a great group here, but I believe they're all over in Olympia at a big association meeting. So we have a couple of port commissioners we want to recognize. From the Port of Kennewick, we have Commissioner Don Barnes. Don, if you could stand, please, if you're here. And also from the Port of Pasco, Commissioner Ron Ryman. If you could stand as well. I'd like to recognize you. Thank you very much for being here today. We appreciate your service and dedication to the Tri-Cities. And if I could ask all of you to please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. I'd like to take a moment to thank our presenting sponsor of our 5th Annual Women in Business Conference, Washington River Protection Solutions. They've been our sponsor, as you've heard if you were here this morning, since the Women in Business Conference began 5 years ago. We are very thankful for their support and their partnership to make this event the largest and best of its kind in Eastern Washington. The Regional Chamber has had the pleasure of working with Washington River Protection Solutions for numerous events and programs that we do, including the Small Business Incentive Program, where WRPS has donated $150,000 over the past 5 years for a program that helps small businesses. So without your support of the Women in Business Conference, this would not be possible, that it has grown into what it is today. So thank you very much to WRPS for your sponsorship. Our luncheon is sponsored by Battelle, and Battelle has also supported this event year after year through their sponsorship and attendance. And for those of you who attended our conference this morning, from our presenter Paula Linen, who also was our first Athena Leadership Award recipient. So thank you so much, Battelle, for your partnership. At this time, I'd like to invite the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory Director, Dr. Steve Ashby, to the stage to say a few words. Please help me welcome Steve.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Lori. Battelle and the Tri-City Regional Chamber have had a strong and productive partnership for many years, and we have benefited from the Chamber's tireless efforts to build a strong and vibrant community that is hospitable to business and attractive to the top talent that we need to be successful. We applaud the Chamber's leadership in numerous areas, including their initiative to create this Women in Business Conference. This conference, which helps to connect women and create leaders, is a great example of celebrating diversity in our workplaces, which we all know is a key to success in our various endeavors. This morning's conference featured several exemplary women who are making a difference in their companies and communities. And at today's luncheon, we will honor 2 exceptional leaders. Each has been selected to receive a prestigious Athena Award for notable contributions to their profession, community, and peers. So on behalf of Battelle and the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, it is a pleasure to join the Chamber and its members and all of you in recognizing these individuals at today's luncheon. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Steve. We again really appreciate your support of this event. Each month, our Awards and Recognition Committee selects a member business to recognize as our outstanding member of the month. Since the Chamber doesn't have a luncheon in December, today we're going to recognize both our December and January members of the month. Our December outstanding member of the month was the Port of Pasco. 2015 was a fantastic year for the Port of Pasco. Not only did they celebrate their 75th year in business, but they unveiled the first phase of the Tri-City Airport expansion and modernization project. How many of you have been to see the new changes at the airport? And they are really great. Their constant commitment to economic development and job growth in the Tri-Cities is so important, and their efforts at the airport will have a tremendous impact on the future of our entire region. On behalf of the Port, please help me welcome Commission President Ron Ryman to accept their award. Again, a warm applause for the Port of Pasco. Thanks for everything you do. So in light of today's Women in Business event, the Awards and Recognition Committee thought it would be very special to recognize a local woman-owned business. For January, the Regional Chamber is pleased to announce Mickey McKinnon Insurance as our outstanding member of the month. Mickey McKinnon Insurance, that's right, you can go ahead and give her an applause, has been in business since 1980 She and her husband Rick have been members and a loyal ambassador group. They kind of come together as a pair, ambassadors for our regional chamber for many years. They volunteer at nearly every function, and they've sponsored multiple events each year. So thank you to Mickey McKinnon Insurance for all that you do in our community and for the support for the chamber. So here is Mickey joining me on the stage. So let's give her another round of applause, please.
So thank you. I first would start out by telling Steve Ashby, my boss, what a wonderful job he did in his very succinct speech. This is the first meeting, the first opportunity we've had to get together in 2016. So I wanted to give you a real brief just kind of overview of some of the things the Chamber has on our plates and some of our thinking. So late last year, the Chamber Board got together for a strategic planning event. And as part of that strategic planning event, we actually used a construct that was put together by executives of many of the chambers across the country called the Horizon Initiative. And that really pushed everybody's thinking about we need to think and act differently because the future we're facing as a chamber is going to be a lot different than the past. And so this is a work in progress. I just kind of wanted to share with you a couple of the things that we're thinking about as we're going through that. So under the banner of thinking and acting differently, we realize that we have to be more about things that are important to our members, causes. This can't just be a club, but this has to be associated with getting some things done that will serve our membership or causes. The other thing we said is, and we learned, is we probably need to do a slightly better job of communicating with our members. So we talked about most of our communication at this point has been one way. What we'd like to do is create two-way channels and a little bit more targeted to the things that are important to our members. So that's kind of what we're thinking about at communication. In terms of causes, just to give you a kind of a real brief idea of what we're thinking, you know, one of the causes we've had on our plate is being the political voice of business. And in fact, in that vein, a whole contingent of us are headed over to Olympia just after this ends. Lori's driving, I'm riding, and Austin is shotgun. So we're headed over, but Lori and the Chamber are actually chairing this contingent of Tri-Cities folks that are going over to Olympia to meet with our legislators and share our ideas, our concerns, and things that are important to us from the standpoint of what's good for our membership, our businesses. So that's. But one of the things we decided is that's really great what we've been doing, but we feel we need to up our game. So we're going to need to describe what that means. How do we up our game and be more impactful for our membership? Another thing that we came across is there appears to be a little bit of a gap in terms of a voice for what is best for the broader Tri-Cities community. And so one of the challenges we've asked ourselves is there a role for the Chamber to step into that gap? We don't know yet, so we're going to kind of look at that. But what we know is that the Tri-Cities has grown to be almost 280,000 people, and you know, for us to really act as a cohesive community is really, really important. So that's one of the things we're considering as well. So that's all I kind of want to share you, just a little bit of the thinking, some of the things we're on our plate, but I think we're really in a point where we want to kind of shift or transform the mission of the Chamber to be more impactful for our members. So we'll share a little bit more of this at the annual meeting in March, so kind of stay tuned for that. All right, so for onto the program. So I'm Marty Conger. I am the Chief Financial Officer for Battelle, and Battelle operates the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. And I have the privilege today, or this year anyway, of serving as the Regional Chamber Board President. So the Regional Chamber is continuing its mission to serve the voice of business for our community. We cannot be that voice without the 1,200 members that make up this chamber. By the way, we're one of the largest chambers in the state. That's pretty impressive. Today we're fortunate to welcome new members to the chamber community because I could probably flub it up. We're going to instead have our membership director, Elizabeth Holt, come up to introduce our new members and present them with membership plaques. Elizabeth?
Thanks, Marty. Like Marty said, I'm excited to be able to announce some of our newest members who are able to join us here today. So if you're here in the crowd, if I call your name, please come up to the stage and accept your new membership plaque from Marty and pose for a group photo. First, we have Krista Patterson with Northwest Paddleboarding, Carol and Sarah Frink with Real Business Solutions. We have Amy Johnson with Purple Star Wines, Deborah Folger with Badger Mountain Yarns, Trista Self with Logic and Ledgers, Marla Barnhart with Marla June's Clothing Company, Annie Newton with Four Seasons Color, and last but not least, Nicole Derryberry with Advanced Family Chiropractic. Please join me in welcoming these new members. Next, we would like to recognize some of the Chamber's longest standing members. The members I will mention have been involved with the Regional Chamber for 20 years or longer. Oberg Chiropractic, Key Bank, Agrium, the Salvation Army, American Red Cross, Images, Ranch and Home, Casa Mia, Western Centering, Washington State University Tri-Cities, the Giant Nickel, Walker, Hay, Meehan, and Eisinger, Tri-City Herald, Hall Engineering Associates, Gisa Credit Union, Columbia Coal Store, YMCA, Fast Signs, Tri-City Country Club, Clearwater Square Apartments, Crest Hallmark, Guest House International Suites, and Total Energy Management. Thank you, and we appreciate your participation with the Regional Chamber. Let's give these members a round of applause. Thank you.
So thank you, Elizabeth, and we welcome all of our new members. Thank you for joining. We hope you get your maximum benefits out of your Chamber membership. We appreciate your support and look forward to serving you as you remain a member here. So each year, the Regional Chamber is proud to recognize and celebrate 2 women who exemplify leadership in this community. We start accepting nominations in the fall and receive numerous nominations for deserving women throughout the several months that follow. I'd like to thank Cadlick Regional Medical Center for sponsoring the 2016 Athena Awards. And to present this year's award, please help me welcome Emily Voland, Community Relations Manager. Emily? Turn it over.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So the Athena Young Professional Leadership Award honors emerging leaders that demonstrate excellence, creativity, and initiative in their businesses or profession. These leaders provide valuable service to our community by contributing time and energy to improve the quality of life for others while serving as a role model for young women both personally and professionally. Our 2016 Athena Young Professional Award recipient definitely exemplifies these qualities. I would like to draw your attention to the screen as well as the program on your table to recognize this year's Athena Young Professional Award finalists. Vicki Monagudo, Century 21 Tri-Cities. Anna Ruiz Peralta, New York Life. And Jessica Joyner, United Way. So the Awards and Recognition Committee really had their work cut out for them, as all of these women are so deserving of recognition for the tremendous work that they do. This year's award recipient sets her goals based on her desire to serve others. She is a mother of 3 and knows that in this day and age we are taught that we can and should do everything. Although everything is hard to achieve as a working parent, she does all that she can to accomplish her goals and assist others in accomplishing their goals as well. Not only did she successfully complete the program, she has encouraged other young women to apply to Leadership Tri-Cities. She sponsored a young woman member class of Class 20. She was a founding board member of Consejo Latino, which focuses their attention on education and working to spread the word in the Hispanic community about impending levies and the Tri-City School District's needs for levy dollars. She was the vice chair of the Washington State Commission on Hispanic Affairs, where she organized a community forum on economic development and gang prevention. In addition, she helped organize the first Hispanic tour at the Port of Pasco. She is one of the faces of the United Way's Attendance Matters campaign. Attendance Matters campaign is a campaign that works to educate students and parents about absenteeism and how it affects a student's chances for success. She has served on St. Patrick's Parish Council, the Pasco School District Facilities Task Force, and on the boards of the Downtown Pasco Development Authority, Tri-Cities Community Health, Mid-Columbia Master Singers, and currently the United Way. She has been recognized by her employer as an emerging leader and received multiple awards, including the New Agent of the Year, multiple Agent of the Month awards, and a Foundation Award. Please help me welcome and congratulate our 2016 Athena Young Professional Award winner, Ana Ruiz Peralta.
Wow, this was unexpected. I know the nominees, they're amazing women. They're a great inspiration for me as well. So I was thinking about the donkey when Palm Sunday, when Jesus Christ was going to Jerusalem, and he was thinking that they were clapping for him. So I don't want to be that person. I know this award. It's God that puts us and gives us a purpose. And I'm so thankful for the many women in my life that encourage me every day, that help me with my children as well, that give me guidance. And so thank you to all of you. And thank you for taking my phone call when I call and ask for help with volunteer things. So thank you.
Thank you and congratulations, Ana. Our community is very fortunate to have a young leader and role model like you, and we look forward to your future accomplishments. You truly make the Tri-Cities a bolder, brighter, and better place. The Athena Leadership Award is presented to a woman that has exemplified professional excellence, community service, and for actively assisting women in their attainment of these goals and leadership skills. We'll again draw your attention to the screen to recognize this year's award finalists. Kathy Balcom, Stevenson Advertising. Terry Carr, Tri-Cities Fever. And Shirley Simmons, Country Gentleman Restaurant and Catering. The Awards and Recognition Committee had a difficult decision to make because, again, this group is filled with so many deserving women. This year's Athena Leadership Award winner has been a part of the Tri-Cities community for more than 20 years, a mother of 4, owner of a family-run business, and a leader in the hospitality and catering industry. She has found her passion in advocating for numerous community organizations, including the March of Dimes, Habitat for Humanity, Arc of Tri-Cities, and Tri-Cities Domestic Violence Center. She graciously opened the doors of her business to the Tri-City Meals on Wheels program. She has spearheaded efforts in fundraising thousands of dollars for the Seattle Children's Hospital and the Tri-Cities Cancer Center. As a professional, she's led her business in receiving recognition across the region and at the national level. She's led her team of caterers to the National Cater Source Convention in Las Vegas, winning Best in Show 2 years in a row. As an employer, she has hired and mentored women who are recovering from drug abuse, domestic violence, and health issues. She's shown them that the past does not have to define their future. She constantly works to encourage those around her to be leaders in the community, also to be leaders in the workplace, and most importantly, to your children and family. She received the 2013 Seroptimus Ruby Award, an award that honors women who have worked to improve the lives of women and girls through their professional and volunteer work. She has become a leader and role model in service above self and paying it forward. She knows these two philosophies are very important to being a valuable community member, as well as a mother, wife, grandmother, aunt, sister, friend, and employer. Please help me welcome to the stage and shine a very much deserved light on our 2016 Athena Leadership Award winner from the Country Gentleman Restaurant and Catering, Shirley Simmons.
Well, thank you all. I'll tell you what, I've catered for 4 times this amount of people, and I am so nervous right now. I did have a few things written down just in case. Again, it was very unexpected. I mean, look at who the other people were. They're amazing. Thank you very much to the Chamber and to Brandy Cartmill, one of my employees, for nominating me. I've been so blessed in the Tri-Cities, and we have been supported, you know, for all of you, to the Country Gentlemen, for so many years. We love giving back. The Tri-Cities has given back so much to us. I have been extremely blessed to have a wonderful family and friends that surround me and support me. This is such a marvelous award, and I admire the past winners so much. I'll do my very best to be worthy. Thank you again.
So, by the way, I have to say, I have seen Shirley in action, and she's very deserving, and I am truly, truly grateful to see the true leader of Country Gentlemen surface. So, first of all, congratulations to all the finalists, and congratulations to Shirley on winning. And this is just to be nominated for these awards through a group of very deserving people is truly an honor. So thank you, and thanks for the people that nominated everyone. And the other thing to thank is Catholic Medical Center for their sponsorship. And Shirley, your leadership, your mentorship has been an asset to our community to help it grow and become what we've become today. So I know you guys have been in business a long, long time. I remember for the days on Court Street, in fact. So, moving on to the program. So today's keynote speaker is sponsored by D.A. Davidson. So please help me welcome Sean Murrow, Senior Financial Analyst, to introduce our speaker. Sean?
Well, what a pleasure to be back here again. And on behalf of Davidson, we are thrilled to be a sponsor one more time. This is an amazing event. I've talked to people throughout the day today and in the past, and it continues to grow. And I think that's reflective of so many worthwhile elements that the Chamber puts together in this event. I want to step back just a little bit. How many people have been here before? Nice. Okay, so I don't get to cheer the Seahawks this year, and I'm kind of sad about that. I do have a football story, but that'll be in a minute. I want to back up a little bit. Last year, we had some terrific speakers, and one of them talked about throwing an idea out to the universe. And if you'll remember, I'm going to try and make this brief. If you'll remember, I spontaneously, Myers-Briggs, I spontaneously told you about a goal, one of the things on my bucket list, which is to host Saturday Night Live. Do you remember that? Yeah. So here's the deal. You have to throw it out to the universe, people. Before I left this building last year, I had someone come up to me and talk to me about their college roommate who was a writer for Saturday Night Live. Fast forward, again, this is a much longer story. Genoa Blankenship, who's this amazing photographer, wonderful, wonderful community supporter. She did a documentary premiere movie about 3 months later. I got to go see that. There was only 60 of us in the theater. Woo woo. And I told her about my goal. And she said, oh, you need to call me. Because one of the producers on this film was my college roommate. And they produced the film for SNL. I just talked to her last week. We don't know how it comes together, but I am sending off my email in August. It's a lottery to get tickets to go see. So please throw it out to the universe for me. I'd love to be able to bring that together. And that's just from having the conversations that we have here. So the other part of this that I love is the connections that we make here. And every time I've been up here, I've said, please, put yourself out in front. Introduce yourself to someone you don't know. Make a connection at a different level, whether it's through developing resources, whether it's networking, which is a big part of what we're doing here, learning new skills, new techniques, sharing opportunities, and finding a different business plan or a different business model. This is a fabulous place to start that process. You never know when you're going to make a connection. And so here's my story for today, football. Thanksgiving, I made an unexpected trip to Asia, and that's another conversation. But coming back, I was kind of sad. It was a tough trip. I was there to see some family. And I was walking through the airport in Taipei on my way home. Some people have heard this story, by the way, on the moving walkway. And off in the distance, it was 10 feet, off in the distance I see a WSU shirt. Swear to you, you never know when those connections are going to be made, right? And I'm like, hey, I should also say, this is the week after the Apple Cup. I'm like, hey, go Cougs! And the guy and his family, they turn around, and I'm still moving, right? I'm moving on the walkway, and they're like, yeah, go Cougs! And I'm going like this, and I have a purple shirt with a gold W on it. And I looked at him, and they kind of went like this, and I went, go Washington! Yeah! You never know where you're going to make those connections. And we actually ended up on the same flight home. So I'm just telling you, you got to put yourself out there sometimes to do it. All right. I had the opportunity to visit with Whitney before the event started today. Oh, very excited that she's here and she's going to do this. And I shared with her too, and if you haven't had a chance to do this, I think she'll probably mention it. She has an awesome book list on her website. Please go look at it. It's amazing. I read some. There's some that I really need to follow up on. So over the last 20 years, Whitney Keys has worked as a senior Microsoft manager, strategic advisor for American Express, and consultant to thousands of small businesses around the world. Whitney is a professor and fellow for the Center for Strategic Communications at Seattle University, where she teaches global reputation management, I love that, and related marketing communication courses. She also manages a global business consulting practice and serves on the board of the Center for Women and Democracy, and her role focuses on creating strategic global partnerships, and I'm hopeful that there might be a few here today as well. Whitney began her career managing her family's small business and led the local merchant association. Her community activism led her to a newly created position to work for the City of Tacoma's Economic Development Department in Washington State. In that role, she helped manage leaders, social entrepreneurs, and youth in Asia and Africa. She is the winner of the Small Business Administration Women in Business Champion of the Year Award for Washington State and author of the book Propel: 5 Ways to Amp Up Your Marketing and Accelerate Business. She received her undergraduate degree in communications and journalism and is currently pursuing an MBA in global social enterprise leadership. You got it going. We do. Please help me welcome today's keynote speaker, Whitney Keys.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Good. I am so excited to be here. Let me get my little clicker on. So we're going to be talking about catching up with the customer, but before I do, I just want to take a minute, and I really do want to thank your chamber so much for inviting me to come and share the afternoon with you. And then I really do want to thank Sean and her company for sponsoring me to literally bring me here. And I do have to do a little call out to Lisa Nelson, who's with the chamber. She and her staff have worked so hard behind the scenes to help me get on stage and get my presentation ready. So thanks to all of you. So we're going to begin by checking in with the mood in the room. So when I see this businesswoman, to me, she looks very happy and very confident. And here we are at almost the end of January, at the beginning of the year. And I just want to know how many of you are feeling really excited and good about where you are so far in January and excited for the rest of the year? Hands up. Okay, pretty much everyone in this room. That's great. And I feel that way too. There is a lot to be excited about when it comes to 2016, especially with regard to some of the trends that we're seeing in marketing and customer relationship management, those types of things. That said, there's a lot of research coming out that's important to pay attention to and can be a little challenging to pay attention to. A couple things that I want to point out for you that's happening right now when it comes to our relationships with customers are 97% of people are going online now to research you and your business and your products and services. And when they do that, they are actually checking out up to 10 of your competitors. So people are very interested in comparing, especially when it comes to things like quality and price. And along those lines, when people do go online, 90% of them, when they're looking at your competitors, they're going to switch away from you and go to another business if that business is cause-focused. And by that, I mean a business that's doing corporate social responsibility or social entrepreneurship, where they're using their business for social good. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is videos are incredibly popular. And of course, we're all very familiar with YouTube, but consumers now are starting to switch and trust video more and giving it more clout when it comes to researching you and your businesses. And then for those of you that are focused on a younger demographic, there's lots of good news. 80 million millennials are supposed to be hitting the marketplace in the coming year and spending upwards of $200 billion. So that's an important piece of information to pay attention to. And so all of this said, I love this research. I think it's fascinating, and hopefully some of you will find some of those statistics relevant for your business. But it can be a little tough to stay on top of all of them. And sometimes it can leave us feeling a bit like this poor lady, overwhelmed and exhausted. You're trying to keep up with all of the evolving technologies and different marketing strategies. Show of hands of anyone who gets kind of overwhelmed with all of this marketing information. Come on, be honest. It can be overwhelming. I get excited. So there are a bunch of hands up here. So the good news is that that's why I'm here. I'm going to share with you some of the insights and some of the research that's come out and predictions for 2016. I've distilled them down into 3 key strategic ideas that I am quite confident are going to be helpful for all of you in your businesses. In order to do that, I thought it would also be pretty interesting to look back at 2015 and take a peek at what those top trends were, and we'll sort of look at how they're shifting. So big data was everywhere. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Content creation was also really hot last year. And then the final point, the big trend, was mobile devices. So let's start by taking a look at data, big data. When I speak of that, what I'm referring to is all the information that we collect in our businesses. And that's referring to information that comes from inside your business as well as externally, and information that we gather from digital technologies as well as traditional technologies. So for example, how many of you use paper in your business to keep track of information? I do sometimes. And don't feel bad, paper is not old school. I was actually going to the University of Washington for a meeting last week, and I was pulling up on campus to park, and I had to check in with a little booth to pay for parking. And the guy said, oh, I'm doing a survey. I have a piece of paper here. I got to write down, how long are you going to be on campus? And I was shocked. I said, really? You're doing an old school paper survey right there, pen and paper? He said, yep. At the end of my shift, I'm going to go clock in my hours, and I have to give some lady this piece of paper, and she's going to put it in an Excel spreadsheet. So University of Washington is still using paper to do big data. But beyond paper, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, Access databases, those are all different types of forms that businesses use to keep track of information about our customers. We also use things like MailChimp, Constant Contact, especially when we're trying to track communication methods with our customers. Some companies pay to use tools like Salesforce, which give you incredible details and insights about your customers. So the list goes on and on and on. And then, of course, we have social media tools, and there are thousands, if not tens of thousands, of social media tools that you can use to track information. So big data is great, and it can be very powerful. And last year, we were told to gather as much of it as possible, because once you had it, then you could monitor it and manage it, and you could analyze it and evaluate it, and then use it to do these incredible things in your business that were going to make you reach so many more people. And yet, the problem with big data is it can also be too much data, and sometimes it can lead to bad data. So in that case, you have a lot of businesses that were trying to gather information, but maybe weren't gathering the right information. Or maybe they did invest in Salesforce, and I have worked with a lot of organizations that aren't really maximizing it and don't really know how to use it. And so you end up, again, sort of frustrated and stuck and not sure what to do with all this information. So the good news is that for 2016, there's a change happening, and there's a shift in the marketplace with how we interact with data and information in our business. And research is coming out that's showing that actually you may not need to invest in gathering all of that information. You might have some really good data right at your fingertips that you may not be using, that are, subtle insights and what I'm calling hidden gems that you can tap into that might have tremendous possibility to change your business. So let me share a story with you about a woman entrepreneur who did just this. She identified a hidden gem, and incredible things happened for her business. So I want to call your attention to Cindy Whitehead. Cindy spent her career in the pharmaceutical industry, decades and decades, and she ended up specializing in developing products that help people who have difficulties in the romance department. And I'm talking about sexual dysfunction. And in her industry, there's a lot of research being done and a lot of big data being pulled together about, unfortunately, men who have a lot of problems when it comes to sexual dysfunction. And in case you don't know, this is a big market. So the global market for treatment for men who have sexual dysfunctions is $4 billion. So we're talking about a massive opportunity for a lot of companies that are in pharmaceuticals that focus in this area. And yet, there was a hidden gem under all this data pointing to how big the male market was. And Cindy realized that her industry was completely ignoring 50% of the population, because there's a little known fact that Cindy uncovered that women struggle with a lot of these same issues that men do. We just don't talk about it as much. And so what did Cindy do with this hidden gem? Well, she decided to start her own pharmaceutical company, and it's called Sprout Pharmaceuticals, and she got busy using this hidden gem, and she started doing research and developing products, putting them before the Food and Drug Administration, and they would get rejected. And then she would try again and come up with a different product, put it before the FDA, reject it again. Try. But she didn't give up. And actually, last year, Cindy released this product, which is called Addyi. It's a little pink pill, and it helps women with their libido issues. And so there are up to 25 different products, and I'm talking about Viagra and things like that, that are intended for men, this is the first FDA-approved drug for women. And 48 hours after this product hit the market, a large global pharmaceutical firm flew over, met with Cindy, and offered her $1 billion in cash for her company. Yeah, go Cindy! So in summary, this is an example of a smart business person who was very aware of all of the big data and all of the research, but looked for a hidden gem, looked for something that was right at the fingertips of everyone else in the industry. Big Pharma, again, completely ignored 50% of the population, and she was able to mine that hidden gem. So keep that in mind as you move forward into 2016. The next thing that I want to share with you that is a trend from 2015 that's shifting quite a bit is around content generation. So by that, what I'm referring to is all this content and information that we're putting out. We heard earlier from the Chamber that, which I appreciate the Chamber recognizing this, a lot of organizations, I've been guilty of this in the past, we just push out information. So there was a lot of focus last year on creating still blog articles and podcasts and videos and photos and ebooks and digital brochures. All of us cranking out this content, and even paper content too. You know, paper brochures, business cards, shoving it out. So we are supposed to crank as much of it as we could and then just push it out far and wide. And the challenge with that is, as the Chamber mentioned too, that so often we then forget who we're creating this content for and why do they need it. We've lost sight of the fact that our audience is actually comprised of individual people. I mean, all of you women and one gentleman sitting at this table, while you all came here to attend a Chamber event, each one of you is very different, has a different family life and work life and career goals and hobbies, and the list goes on and on and on. So it's really important to see the individuality of all of our customers that we're creating content for. And to just give you a metaphor, I want you to think for a minute about a deck of cards. And in every deck of cards, there are all the different numbers that we're familiar with, and there are 4 of each. But if you take time to slow down and look at those 4 cards, for example, 4 queens, in a really good quality deck, they're not the same. They do not look alike. And we know that their suites are different, heart, spade, and so on. But the actual image of the queen, for example, on a card are all very unique. So that's what we need to do when it comes to content creation. We need to slow down and think about the environment and our customer and what's going on for them. And that's why, for 2016, context is queen. So an example of a business owner who is doing a fantastic job of keeping context type of mind and has done so throughout her career is this woman that you're looking at named Morea Seal. And she owns a couple different businesses in Seattle. Her business is called moreaseal.com, and she has a fantastic online store where she sells all the same products that are featured behind her, which is in her new retail store located in downtown Seattle. So she sells beautiful handmade jewelry, home goods, clothing, shoes, all kinds of different things. And she sells them from about 50 different artisans throughout the United States. So how Maria got started is her background is in illustration and graphic design. That's what she studied in school. And so from the get-go, she was very aware of context and environment. And when she started, she ended up creating handmade jewelry and selling it on Etsy, and she also owned a graphic design business. But she kind of wanted to evolve away from graphic design and move in the direction of more handmade products. And from the start, she paid attention to what her customers were interested in, listened to them, got to know them, so her jewelry designs would reflect what they were interested in. So she started blogging. She began her business in 2009, started blogging, but then Pinterest, that social media platform, came on the market, and it was in beta phase. And she knew that her customers really appreciated beautiful things, and that visual platform would be better for her to connect with her customers. So she was an early Pinterest user, and within 6 months, she already had almost 300,000 people following her on Pinterest. And what she did was, during the day, she would develop these vision boards for her customers to try to pull together images of different beautiful items and kind of get a sense of a brand and design. And then at night, she would develop her own dream boards of all kinds of wonderful, lovely products. And so she invested time, she paid attention to her customers, and her following on Pinterest grew. Before she knew it, a couple years later, Pinterest had designated her as one of the top lifestyle brands, putting her in the category along with Martha Stewart, Anthropologie, those type of corporate brands. And then just last year, she finally reached 1 million followers on Pinterest. And Pinterest touts her now as one of the world's top lifestyle tastemakers. That's pretty impressive for a young woman who didn't start her business very long ago. But she really does attribute this to paying attention to her customers and understanding their environment. And the last thing I want to share with you about Maria, which I think is fascinating and definitely supports this concept of context, is, as I mentioned, content is really hot right now and ebooks are really popular. And so she decided she wanted to create a book for her customers. But instead of doing an ebook, and again, she's a designer, she could have easily whipped one out probably in her sleep, she decided to create a beautiful hardbound book that is just lovely. It's called the 52 Lists Project, and it allows her audience and her people and followers to write out each week kind of lists for what they're trying to accomplish. It's very inspirational, kind of a journaling book. This book has been so successful. It released just a couple months ago, and it hit number 75 on Amazon. That's pretty impressive when you think about all the books on Amazon. And it has sold out in bookstores across the country. So brick and mortar books, Barnes & Noble, independent bookstores cannot keep it in stock. So Maria is a great example of someone who continues to really pay attention to her customers. She knows that they like high quality, physical, tangible, beautiful products. And this is an example of how she's taken that focus on context and created a great product and more success for herself and kept her individual audience members happy. So the third and the last trend that I want to talk about that's really changing quite a bit is everything to do with mobile. So last year, mobile was about taking all that content that we were creating and making sure that it was on every single device that your customers were holding. In one hand, we had a mobile phone, and then in another, I would have a tablet and laptops and all these different technologies. And don't forget drones. Drones were really hot last year, too. But there's a big shift going on because, again, mobile devices are only one way of reaching people. It's like content. They're just so overwhelming, and there's such a distancing happening when it comes to mobile devices. Apps have been a big part of mobile devices. And in case you don't know, there are a lot of apps out there. Android is still the #1 platform. Android offers 1.6 million apps for their users to download. And then the Apple Store is actually coming in at #2, offering 1.5 million apps. So people definitely are using their phones, and I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that phones are not going to be important for us to focus on, and any mobile device is going to be important for your business. Absolutely, they're here to stay. But the shift that's starting to happen is that people are feeling very alone and disconnected with these mobile technologies. And there's a big swing happening where people want to be in touch with you, and they want to participate in the physical world, kind of face-to-face and in a physical place. And this luncheon is a perfect example. The Chamber could have saved a lot of money and made this all online. They could have recorded all their speakers. I could be sitting at home in my jeans doing a webinar. And yet, we as human beings are still craving this physical, real-world connection. We want to be able to share a meal together, share conversation, touch someone, shake their hand, have these types of experiences. And so we need to think about this as business owners and not be so focused on digital, but actually remember to blend these two worlds, the real world and the digital world. So an example of a businesswoman who's done a fantastic job of this and really bridging the two seamlessly is Angie Cox. Angie owns a business called You Look Fab YouLookFab.com. She started it in 2006, and she's been tremendously successful. So YouLookFab.com is a fashion advice business, and from the get-go, when she started, she developed two very separate services. One was digital and mobile. What it is it's a blog, and she posts every single day. She posts articles about fashion and trends and clothing and pictures. But the second part of her business was always physical and in the real world. She meets with clients one-on-one and gives them advice on their clothing and what to wear. So if you were a stay-at-home mom and you're transitioning back in the workplace, she can come into your home and do personal styling and that sort of thing. And she has amassed an incredible following of people all around the world with very different body types and different lifestyles and different budgets. So she's been very successful. And one reason why she's successful is when mobile was really hot, she took advantage of that platform. So you're looking at an app that she created that's sort of a style advice chat app. And I will tell you a little bit about how it works. So you go to the app store of your choice, you download her app, and then when people use this is, for example, with women, some of you can relate to this, if you're alone shopping or you're at home trying on some clothing, you're not really sure how it looks, and you're looking for that kind of honest girlfriend opinion. So what you do is you snap a picture of yourself, selfie style, as you can see on the right, person wearing the white jeans. Then you upload that picture into the app and you ask a question. Hey, do these jeans look good on me? And it's so incredible how popular this app is. It's such a brilliant idea, a very simple, brilliant idea. And then what you see on the left is people will answer your questions and chime in. What's fascinating about this app is it's priced very high. It's $5.99. I'm not a huge app user, but those of you that are know that there are a lot of great apps for free, and a lot of them are 99 cents. But she strategically chose to go higher end because it more reflects her brand. It helped her create somewhat of an exclusive community of people that really cared about fashion, really cared about each other, wanted to help each other. And it served another purpose. It kind of weeded out the riffraff and some of those types of gentlemen that might not have the best intentions and might be saying, hey, you look pretty hot in those white jeans. So she has built an incredible following using this app. It's really complemented her business. But at the same time, she's made some strategic choices in her business to continue to really beef up the physical presence of her business. She's done a lot of this just in the past year as this trend is changing. And so now Angie flies around the world, meets with all kinds of people who are her followers through the app or the website, and she meets them, they go shopping, she'll meet them at their homes to look at their clothing, she sits down and has a cup of tea and a chocolate croissant with them. Again, she's creating these real world experiences, these physical experiences with people that are following her, which is really paying off for her business. So Angie, going back to her first blog, has been a very loyal blog writer. Not everyone is, but since the day she started it, she's posted over 2,000 articles. And she's built up a following of hundreds of thousands of people on her social media channels. And her website, that YouLookFab.com, gets over 2 million views a month. So she has really focused on, again, bridging both worlds, the digital world and the real world, and it's paying off. She gets companies like Macy's and The Gap who come to her now and pay her a very pretty penny to have access to the community that she's built over the past decade or so. So that's a great example, again, of how you can definitely build upon mobile, build upon what you're doing digitally, but still really think about the real world and how to create these physical face-to-face connections. So let me just kind of touch on these three one more time. The first is hidden gems. So you might be gathering a lot of information about your business and your customers, but don't forget that right at your fingertips, right under your nose, you might have some information and data, sort of like Cindy that I shared with you, that could really transform your business. And the second thing to think about is when it comes to generating lots of content, don't forget who your customers are, that they're individual people. And there's a big shift happening where people are looking for more personalized content. Gamification is really hot right now. You know, how can you really have fun and engage and be playful with the people that you're trying to connect with and create content that really resonates with them? It's important to think, for example, when it comes to social media, I'll just use Facebook as an example. On average, every day, Facebook records 300,000 photos. Oh, no, not 300,000. Yeah, 300,000. I'm trying to remember the numbers. 300,000 photos get uploaded every day on Facebook. And then when you look at their overall content, it's 5 billion pieces of content. So as business owners, we have to remember we're competing with other businesses and just average people who are creating all this content. So think about the context and what's going on in the environment of the people you're trying to reach. That will really help you be more successful. And then third, we're going back to the real world. We're not going to completely ignore mobile, but what can you do with your business to create these wonderful real-world experiences? Can you bring back panel discussions and roundtables and soirees and parties and open houses? These types of things can be very effective and set you apart from your competitors when you're trying to connect with them. So these are the 3 big strategic ideas that I want to leave you with. I really feel confident that if you could do even one of these things and start making a shift in your business, you'll be tremendously successful. You'll be able to connect much more with your customers. You won't feel like you're keeping up with them, but you'll actually be at pace and maybe stay on top of some of the things that they need. So I just want to thank you again so much for inviting me to come and share the day with you. I am doing a workshop this afternoon that's focused on my book that Sean mentioned a little bit earlier that has more timeless concepts. It's not about trends, but timeless marketing concepts. So I look forward to seeing some of you there. And thank you so much and have a wonderful time at the rest of the conference.